Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the full stack food delivery application in React Native. So in the previous part, we had built a lot of features and functionalities along with the development of both the user app as well as the admin app. So we were able to, create categories, add products, edit products as well as edit categories as well. So whatever categories or products the user has added in the admin part of the application, the same thing were being rendered over here as well in the user app. And we also had implemented a simple kind of cart system using Zustand, and we were able to design till the checkout screen. So here there were a few features and functionalities that were not implemented in your first part, that is your Razorpay Payment Gateway, adding of addresses as well as showing of addresses, your account screen, and two features in your admin panel app, that is to show the users, that is a list of users that is registered within our application, as well as show all of the orders that the user has created. Okay, so now first of all, let's get started with a simple step, that is to design your account screen that is going to look something like this. And let's also try to implement the logout as well. So once I press on logout, automatically they should be sent through the sent to the login screen. So let's get started. So let's remove this item now. Let's come back over here, and once they press on this particular profile icon, they should be navigated to the profile screen, and then we're going to design that. So first of all, let's create the profile screen.tsx. I'm going to say screens, new file over here, profile screen.tsx, rnfes to get the Sujan code snippet. Save the file. Let's include this within your main navigator.tsx, that is over here. Here we can say profile. Okay, and component to render is going to be equals to your profile screen. Import profile screen from the screens folder as such, right? Let's come back to your home screen. I hope your routes is added, that is with respect to the profile. As you can see, profile is there. We're going to make use of that. Come back to home screen.tsx. I hope navigation is initialized over here. Yeah, navigation is there. Write it like that and come down to the point where we have the button, that is your, okay, I think this is there in the header if I'm not wrong. Let's come to header. Yeah, navigation is there over here as well. Yeah, onto this particular pressable, I'm going to say on press, directly taking a function, and I'm going to say nav dot navigate. Here try to access your main routes dot, it is going to be profile. Okay, save the file. Let's press on this, and there you go, we're coming correctly to the profile screen that is going to look something like this. So let's start designing this over here. Okay, so let's come back to profile screen.tsx, that is there over here. Okay, so here essentially I'm going to have in my insets, that is for the safe area insets. So I'm going to say const insets is going to be equals to use safe area insets from React Native safe area context. Let's try to access navigation is going to be equals to use navigation. Furthermore, I'm going to have in your authenticated state from the store, that is from the Zustand store. In our case, it's going to be use auth store because that's what we have created. I'm going to say is authenticated, comma user info, comma your logout is going to be equals to use auth store from your Zustand. Okay, so let's get started with the return block design. So instead of the view, I'm going to have in my safe area view. So for this, let's provide in the class name, I'm going to say flex of 1, and then a bg of white. Let's say edges over here, not over here, outside this edges. So let's get it from your context, not the React Native. Okay, let's write it again, edges. This is gonna say top, left, right. So top, comma left, and then your right. Okay, save the file. So within this, we're gonna have in your scroll view content. So import scroll view from React Native. This in turn is gonna have in your content container style. I'm going to say padding bottom. It's going to be equals to your math dot max of your insights dot bottom comma 24. That's the value. So make sure you add that. Some internal spacing to this now itself. So I'm going to say class name px of 4, and I'm going to say show vertical scroll indicator, set it to be false. Alright, so below your scroll view, I'm going to have in the header greeting, I'm going to say view over here, having a text, check the condition if is authenticated is going to be true. I'm going to make use of my backticks. Here I'm going to say hi, comma, dollar user dot name, user dot name, or your user dot email. As you can see, as soon as I type the dot, we're able to see all of the properties, so directly access that. Okay, else it's going to be equals to hi guest if at all they're not logged in. So hi guest, save, and there you go. Just like that, I'm logged in with my user email, so it is trying to say hi Sujan Anand 0@gmail.com. okay, so here I'm going to say class name for this. So this is going to have a text of 2XL. Font is going to be extra bold and text gray of 900. And there you go. Just like that, that is looking pretty good. So now for the view, I'm going to give the styling. So I'm going to say class name over here. This in turn is going to say PT of 4 as well as a PB of 2. Format once and save. Okay. And below the text, I'm going to check the condition over here stating that if not, if is authenticated, then add in this design. Okay, so as you can see, if all they're not authenticated, we need to show please log in, and then a text which says to enjoy your shopping. Else we need to show the phone number with the XXXX so that the user's phone number is not visible, and then the email as well if at all they're logged in. So here again, I'm going to have in a view, and even for the second part also I'm going to have in a view as well, so add in that. Okay, so for this one I'm going to have in a text which says please. Below that I'm going to have in a pressable which says login. Import pressable from React Native, a text over here, and here I'm going to say text again which says to enjoy your shopping. Alright, let's have in a class name over here. I'm going to say flex of row, item center, empty of 1. For the text which says please, I'm going to say class name, text is going to say SM, and then text gray of 500. For the pressable, I'm just going to say class name MX of 1, and for the final text over here, let's say class name, I'm going to say text SM, text gray of 500, save. Okay, so this is not going to work because obviously the user is authenticated at this point of time. So here I'm going to have in a text which is going to show the user dot email. Okay, below that I'm going to have in one more text. Here we are going to show the masked phone. In the sense, you're going to have that X value so that the user phone is not visible. Okay, we need to define this masked phone onto the top. It is a variable. I'm going to say const masked phone is going to be equals to access user dot phone. If it's visible, then make use of backticks. Then here we're going to actually slice the first 3 digits. Let's do that. I'm going to say dollar user, apply the slice method in JavaScript. Go into the phone and then apply slice. Let's say the first 3 characters. Apart from that, I'm going to show all x, 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 x. Let's say 3 or 4 x's, all in caps. Okay, they should come after the bracket. So just like this. So it is in the string format and not the value. Here I'm going to say dollar user dot phone dot slice. We're going to slice from negative value, so the remaining values is going to be shown over here, else it's going to be empty itself. Save the file. There you go, just like that. It's looking good. Okay, so that's it. This is how we show the phone number with all of the x's. So for the second view, I'm going to say class name over here empty of 1, and class name over here as well. For the email, I'm going to say text of sm, and then it's going to have text gray of 600. Okay, so for the second one, class name, again text of sm, text gray of 600. I'm going to give it an empty of 1, and we're going to have a pressable which says logout. Having that pressable and pass on the text which says logout. This is going to be in red color basically according to the screenshot. Let's go ahead and then design that class name for this. This is going to say text of sm, text red of 600, and font of semi-bold. Save, and there you go, just like that. This is looking pretty neat. So now for the on press, let's try to directly give the logout that is coming from your just install. So taking on press, I'm going to say on press over here. Here I'm just going to say logout, call it in this way. Save. We're going to do that later. So first of all, let's complete the design. Okay, so here we're going to have all of these design being shown. So for that, I'm going to have in my array being shown over here containing the profile items. So first of all, let's define the type of profile item. I'm going to say type your profile item is going to be equals to, which in turn is going to have your icon that is going to be of string. Next, title, it's going to be of string. Your subtitle, so I'll be getting the data for this. I'll also be sending the data in the description. You can use this one directly. Then your divider also string. So I'm just going to paste in the data over here. You can take a look at it. So this essentially is your array of objects, okay, containing your icon, your title, your subtitle, as well as the divider. All right, so okay, my bad, divider is going to be boolean, so that's the reason it's underlining over there, boolean. Save. Okay, so this divider is basically for this one, so that's the reason I've added it over there. All right, let's use this data and then let's try to design this. Okay, so right below this view, I'm going to have in a view, and here I'm going to say your profile items dot map. So for every item and then the index. So here let's actually try to show a view, and let's try to add in the condition stating that if at all your item dot divider is present, or let's remove this parenthesis, we can directly add it, this is not required. I'm going to say if my item dot divider, here let's try to have an enclosing view, that is a self enclosing view. I'm going to say view over here, having the key that is going to be equals to idx, then pass on the class name. It's going to have a h of px, furthermore bg gray of 200, my of 2, mx of 1. So this is the design if at all the divider is true, else directly try to show a pressable. Okay, so automatically this design should come only after the second block, because the divider over here condition is going to be for the third block, right? So even though we map over it from the starting point, for these two conditions automatically it should go into the else condition, show the block, and once we are mapping for the third time divider is true, it should just show the divider over here instead of going into this condition. So here let's try to render the icon. So I'm going to say view, this in turn is going to have in your icons, import that. Your name is going to be equals to your item dot icon, use that as a string, size 18, I'm going to choose that value. All right, your color is going to be equals to hashtag 4b55 and then 63. Okay, so let's try to save the file, and there you go, just like that all of them are being shown onto the screen. So for the pressable, I'm going to say key idx. Okay, below this let's try to show the title. having a view, having a text, which is gonna say item dot your title. There you go, all of the options are coming onto the screen. Below that, add in the condition stating that if at all my item dot subtitle is present, then only go ahead and then show the text. Here I'm going to say item dot subtitle. So let's pass on the class name for this. This in turn is going to say text of base, font of semi bold, and then a text gray of 900. Save the file. As you can see, that is looking neat. And for your text which says subtitle, I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to say text of SM, text gray of 500, empty of 1. And there you go. Just like that, is looking good. So let's try to format. And only for some we have the subtitle, and for these we do not have the subtitle. So that's the reason this extra condition is going to come up. So for your view, let's pass on the design which contains the icon. So I'm going to say class name. It's going to have a specific width of, let's say, 11, height of 11, downward is going to be LG, then a BG gray of 100, items is going to be center, justify is also going to be center, MR of 3, save. There you go, that's looking neat. So now we need to provide this in a row fashion design. Let's do that. So for the pressable, directly say class name. I'm going to give it a flex of row, items of center, PY of 3, and boom, just like that, this design is looking pretty neat, and it is looking exactly to the screenshot. Towards the rightmost part, we need to have that icon, which is the chevron forward icon. Let's include that over here. And icons, so name is going to be equals to chevron forward, size is going to be equals to 20. Okay, your color is going to be equals to hashtag 9CA3AF. okay, save. And for this we can give it a flex of 1 so that we can push the icon towards the rightmost part. So flex of 1, saying that take the entire space and then push it towards the rightmost side. And there you go, just like that, that's looking good. So this part is done. So we can directly try to add the bottommost part design, which is containing the branding or the logo. So I'm just going to get the design for this. You can take a look at it. That's going to come right below this particular view. So let me just add it over here. You can take a look at the design. It's not a logo essentially, it is just the text. We have just given different colors so it looks like a logo. Save the file. And there you go, just like that, this is looking good. All right, so here this step is done. So now the next step is, if at all they come into your categories over here, and let's say they try to add some items to the cart, view cart, and then checkout. Here, if at all they press on change, we need to show that bottom model where the address is being shown, just like this. And if at all they do not want to choose this address, they can press on add new address, where a overlay is going to open up. That is going to look something like this. So that's going to be the next step. Let's get started with the implementation of this. So let's come back to your checkout screen. That is over here, and let's verify if at all we have given the design or state for the model part. Yeah, so we do have a model which says model visible as well as set model visible. So that's essentially your design for showing all of the addresses over there. And we also have the data from hard-coded data from your address store. That is your addresses, your selected address ID, as well as the select address and then the remove address method. Let's try to implement this. So within the checkout screen, I'm gonna initialize the design for the model. So let's say I'm gonna go back to the bottommost part over here, and below the view itself, I'm gonna have in my model from React Native, and we're gonna provide some options to the model. That is gonna say visible. This is gonna be equals to your model visible. That state is already initialized, I just showed you. Animation type is gonna be slide. Add in that, and transparent, pass on that drop. Below this, let's have in a couple of views. You're gonna have 3 views. I'm gonna say view as well as the view. This in turn is going to have in a text which says select address. I'm going to say select address. Let's try to save the file. Let's first of all try to give the on press on the change button that we have towards the rightmost part. So I'm going to say set model visible to be of true. That is over here. Taking a function just like this, and here I'm going to say set model visible to be of true. true, and then save. There you go. Just like that, we're able to see that select address button onto the top, not the button, the design. So let's continue designing this, and then let's provide a specific height so this design looks better. So yeah, first of all, for the outermost view, I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to have a flex of 1, and I'm going to say bg black by 40 and justify of end. As you can see, that design is looking good. So even over here, the background is going to be in that particular background, that is your bg black by 40. So next, for your inner view, that's going to be the next part. This is going to have your bg of white. Add that, and then rounded top of 3xl. Okay, and some internal spacing padding of 4. Height is going to be 3 by 4. Save, and boom, just like that, this is looking pretty neat. And we're also able to see the select address button over here. Okay, so apart from that, below the text, we're going to have a pressable containing a cross icon. So iron icons, it's already imported, so let's try to add in the name, close, size, let's say 21 or 22, whatever you may want to add. All right, then color, this essentially is going to have your 374151. Save. As you can see, that is looking neat. So now for the view, we need to give it a row fashion design. So I'm going to say essentially class name, give it a flex of row, justify of between, items of center, and then MB of 4. Let's try to save the file. That's looking neat. So for your text, I'm going to say class name over here. This in turn is going to have in text of LG, a font of bold, and save. Okay, that's looking good. Let's try to design that search query button over here. That's going to be just below this particular view. Having a view, use your iron icons again. Name is going to be search this time, so search. Size is going to be equals to 18. Color is going to be equals to hashtag 9CA and then 3AF. Okay, here let's try to have in your text input from React Native as such. I think the query is already initialized for this. If at all I'm not wrong, let's give that a try. Nope, I don't think query is added. So let's add that state. I'm going to say over here const query comma set query is going to be equals to use state initially an empty string. Let's scroll down to the text input. This in turn is going to take in a value that is going to be equals to your query. Next, on change text, it's going to be equals to set query. Placeholder is going to be equals to search addresses. All right, let's pass on the class name over here. ML of 2. It's going to have a flex of 1. Text of SM. Save the file. Let's press on it again. Okay, so I'm just going to give the design for the view. So we just added the entire thing, so you can take a look at it. So this is going to be query and then set query. Save. There you go. That's looking good. That is a design for your view. You can take a look at it. All right, so this part is done. Now next, let's try to show your addresses list with the help of a flat list. So right below this particular view, I'm going to say your flat list. This is going to have in your data to be shown. I'm going to say your addresses. So this data is going to come from the Zustand store. Initially we have the hard-coded data, if you would remember. That is, if I would show you the Zustand store, use address store. These are the hard-coded data. The user can, add in new data if they want to add. Okay. So let's come back over here. So here I'm going to say addresses dot your filter. Take in a type, and here I'm going to say if at all a dot type dot to lowercase, not this one, just to lowercase, dot includes of your query dot to lowercase. Here I'm going to say or. This is the second check for the search. I'm going to say a dot locality dot to lowercase dot includes of your, again, query dot to lowercase, includes of your query dot to lowercase. Okay, you can add an even for the flat number as well. Even that should be able to query and then render that particular search result. This part is done. So now next, apart from data, this expects a render item. So render item, try to destructure the value. I'm going to say item over here, and let's try to render a address row. I'm going to say address row over here. This component in turn is going to take in your item, that is all of the information. Item is going to be equals to item is selected is going to be equals to, after all, your selected address ID is going to be equals to selected address ID should be equals to your item.id. Then in this case that value is going to be true, that is selected. I'm going to say on remove, this in turn is going to take in ID of type string, and here we're going to say remove address of that particular ID. So we have already defined this method. So next, apart from that, we need to define the on select. That is what exactly is going to happen. We need to select and then keep that address as selected. So we are going to show that green color dot over there. So I'm going to say on select is going to be equals to take in an ID of your type string, and here essentially I'm going to say select address of your ID. That's it. Let's try to define this function onto the top. Let's say below this, that is going to be equals to your address row. I'm going to say const address row is going to be equals to your item comma is selected comma on select comma on remove of type any. Let's try to render a pressable over here. This in turn is going to have in a view, which in turn is going to have one more view containing your icon. That's the first step, which is going to have your home outline icon. So here I'm going to say icons having the name. This is going to say home outline. Okay, then your size is going to be equals to 20. Color is going to be equals to hashtag 16a and then 34a. Let's pass on the design for the view. This in turn is going to have a width of 10, a height of 10, rounded is going to be MD, and then a BG green of 50, items of center, justify of center, MR of 3. Let's try to save the file, and there you go. Just like that, this is looking pretty neat. So apart from that, towards the rightmost part, we're going to have all of these informations. So let's try to design that. So having a view for that. So within this view, having one more view, which in turn is going to have a text, which is going to say item.type. Save. As you can see, that is being shown correctly fine. Below this, we're going to have one more view, which in turn is going to have a self-enclosing view. So I'm going to add the design for both of this. You can take a look at it. Save. Okay. So since the first one is valid, it is automatically going to be selected. That is just like this. Okay. So that part is done. So the next one is going to be below the text over here. I mean below the view, my bad. Having a text, this in turn is going to say item.name. So add in that. Apart from that, I'm going to have one more text. This is going to say item.your flat number. Here I'm going to have in one more piece of text, which is going to show your item.block name. So add in that item.block name, comma, your item.locality. Choose that hyphen. It's going to be item.pincode. Okay, so I'm just following the screenshot design. You can take a look at it. That is how exactly it's structured over here. Same thing I'm trying to design it over here as well. So let's start designing all of these things. So starting off from your pressable, let's say class name over here This in turn is going to have in, BG of white, rounded of LG, some internal spacing padding of 4, MB of 3, and then shadow. Save the file. So for this view, I'm going to give it a flex of row. And for this, let's give it a flex of 1. So class name, flex of 1. For some reason, nothing seems to happen. Reload the app. Let's come back to your button. Item is already added. View, checkout, change. There you go. Now it's valid. For some reason, it was not working. So just try to reload the app so the styles, get applied. So for this particular one, class name, give it a flex of row, justify of between, add in this, and then items of start, save, and boom, just like that, this got pushed towards the rightmost part. That is what we wanted. And for this, I'm going to have in your class name, font is going to be semi bold, text is going to be base, save. Okay, so for all of these texts, let's try to add in the design. I'm going to say over here, class name, this in turn is going to have in text of 700, text gray of 700, a slight top spacing, empty of 1, a medium font size. Okay, here class name, I'm going to say text gray of, let's say, 500. Furthermore, text of SM, empty of 1. For this, I'm going to say class name, text gray of 500, and then a text of SM. Save the file, and boom, just like that, each of them is looking pretty neat. As you can see, that's looking good. So below that, 2 more buttons, view, not view, edit as well as remove. So right below this text, I'm going to say have in a view. This in turn is going to have in a pressable, which in turn is going to have in a text, which is going to say edit. Okay, for some reason the app crashed, not sure why. Let's design this and then let's look into the output. So here it's going to have a purple shade of color. So class name, text purple 600, font of semi bold. Same thing goes to the about text. Copy that down and then paste it over here as well. And for the pressable over here, I'm going to say class name MR of 6. Let's cancel this. For the view, I'm going to say class name, give it a flex of row, and then empty of 3. Let's try to reopen the app. Meet app. Alright, again let's try to implement this. View cart, proceed to checkout, open the design, and there you go. Edit and then delete. This should be delete. Change that value. So over here, I'm going to say pressable on press, on remove, call that method. I'm going to say on remove of your item.id. So first of all, let's try to implement that address button, that is add address button, my bad, that is going to come right below this. So for that, again, we need to come back to the model design and then we're going to show that address button. So where we have the model, come back over here and below the flat list code, that is over here, I'm going to say pressable, have in a text which says add new address. Let's write it in caps, everything. So add new address, save the file. There you go. That's being shown onto the screen. And for the class name over here, let's give the design. It's going to have a border and border is going to be dashed basically according to the screenshot. So border dashed and then border purple of 600. Rounded is going to be LG. Furthermore, some internal spacing, padding of 3, empty of 2. Save. And there you go. That's looking good. So for the text, I'm going to have a central design being given to that. So text purple of 600, So text purple 600, and then it's going to have, text of center. Font is going to be semi-bold. Save. And there you go. That's looking good. So next I'm just going to add in the design for the done button. If you press on that, the model should automatically close. And I'm also going to say on press set model visible to be of false, so that we can close the model. Save the file and done. There you go. That's correctly closing. So now if you press on your add new address, we need to close the model, and then we need to create a add address screen. So let's do that first of all. Here I'm going to say screen add address screen.tsx rnfes to get the shorthand code snippet. Save the file. Include the screen add address within your main navigator. This is going to say, add address. Component to render for this is going to be equals to add address screen. Let's try to save the file, and pretty much let's come back to your checkout screen, and where we have the add new address, let's try to initialize a on press over here. Take in on press. This in turn is going to take in a function over here. I'm going to say over here set model visible to be of false, and I'm going to say navigation.navigate to the name of the screen. That's going to be equals to your main routes dot your add address. As you can see, that's the first one as n. Let's try to save the file. Let's try to give this a try. So once I press on add new address, first of all the model should close, and then we need to navigate to the add address screen. There you go. Just like that, we are coming to the add address screen. Let's try to implement this. So onto the top of the add address screen, we're going to have a bunch of design being shown containing all of the states. Okay, I'm going to add all of the states one by one. So before that, const navigation is going to be equals to your use navigation, import use navigation from React navigation, and get in the function from the Zustand that is going to be add address. I'm going to say const add address is going to be equals to use auth store. Okay, that's fine. Next, let's try to access the type. I'm going to say const type comma set type is going to be equals to use state. Import that. This in turn is going to have home. Then we're going to have work over here or other. By default, the value should be set to home. Just like this. Next, const name comma your set name is going to be equals to use state. I'm going to have in some default value, that's my name itself. Next, mobile number. So const mobile comma set mobile is going to be equals to, not over there, it's going to be equals to use state, having your mobile number being passed over here. So +91. Okay, next your flat number, block name, all of these details. So flat number comma set flat number is going to be equals to use state. It's going to be flat number. Next, it's going to be block name. So const block name comma set block name is going to be equals to your use state of your block name. That is good. Next is going to be for the building name. Const building name comma set building name is going to be equals to use state. Again, hard-coded value, building name. Next is going to be for the street landmark. Let's try to add in that. So const street comma set street is going to be equals to use state of your street. Next is going to be equals to your const landmark data. So const landmark comma set landmark is going to be equals to use state of your landmark. Next is going to be for the pin code as well as locality. You can take a look at it. Save the file. Let's come back to your return block and then quickly design the add address screen. So here, save area view, pass on the class name for this, flex of 1, bg of white, save. Okay, let's try to have in your scroll view. So for the scroll view, let's provide in some padding. That's going to be, padding of 4. Here I'm going to say text which says new address, as you can see onto the top. Here I'm going to say new address. Let's pass on the class name to this, which is going to say, text of LG. It's going to have a font of bold and then MB of 4. Save. And there you go. That's looking neat. Okay, so let's say text over here. This in turn is going to say name. Below that, your text input to enter the name. Import text input from React Native as such. Class name for this, we're going to say border B, border gray of 300, py of 2, mb of 4. Value is going to be equals to name, and on change text is going to be equals to set name. Save the file, and there you go. Just like that is looking good. Okay, I think I messed up with the color. It should be border gray, not green. Okay, so below that, the mobile number design. So let's say below this particular text input, I'm going to have a text which says mobile number. So below this, I'm going to have in a view. And I'm going to have an image for this, but for some reason the image is not visible. I'm also going to add in the design for the mobile number text as well as your text input. So you can take a look at it and import image from React Native. If at all you have any kind of mobile image, you can try to add it over here. Okay, just like this. So this part is looking good. So below your view, I'm going to have in one more piece of view. This in turn is going to have a view, which in turn is going to have a text which says house of flat number. Have one more piece of text input, and here I'm going to say class name. I think it's essentially going to have in the same piece of design that we gave over here. Try to add in that. So for this class name, text of SM, text gray of let's say 500, MB of 1. Okay, that's it. So this is going to have a flex of 1. So class name, flex 1, MR of 2. You're going to have one more view over here because you're going to have even your block name as well. Here, apart from house and flat, we're going to have your block name. So I'm just going to say block name is going to be optional. Okay, I think I forgot to give the value for each of these. Value is going to be equals to your flat number. On change text is going to say your set flat number. Same thing over here as well, but with a different value. So value over here is going to be equals to your block name, and on change text is going to be equals to set block name. Save. So for this, let's give it a flex of row. So I'm going to say class name, flex row, MB of 4, save. And there you go. Just like that. It's looking pretty good. The next step is for the building name, your street, landmark, pin code, locality. Okay. You can just try to add in this piece of design. It's going to remain the same thing. Copy that down right below your view. Add it. Okay. Change the value. It's going to be building name. So value is going to be equals to building name instead of name. On change text, set building name, not block, building, and save. All right. So yeah, that's looking good. I think building name, the design should be slightly different. It's going to have text gray of 500. Class name over here, I'm going to say text of SM, text gray of 500, MB of 1, save. There you go. That's looking good. I'm going to copy this down a couple of times and then make the change for the remaining pieces of text input. Okay, so apart from building name, we're going to have it for the street. I'm going to say street over here. Next is going to be for the landmark. So I'm going to say landmark. Furthermore, your pin code. So I'm going to say pin code, then your locality over here. So I'm going to say locality. Let's try to save the file. Okay, make the changes for all of your values. So for the street, it's going to be street and then set street. Okay, so street on change text, it's going to be set your street. Next landmark, it's going to be landmark and then set landmark. Here I'm going to say landmark on change text, set landmark. Pin code is going to be equals to pin code over here, and on change text is going to be equals to set pin code. All right, next locality over here, I'm going to say value locality on change text is going to be equals to set locality, not landmark, locality. Change that and save. Okay, so that's it. So here we're going to have some options being passed. Let us save as, if we want it as a home or a work or the other. So below the text input, let's try to have in a text which is going to say save as. I'm going to say class name over here. So text of SM, again similar styling, text gray of let's say 500, and then an MB of 2, save. Okay, here we're going to have a bunch of pressables within a view, and each pressable is going to have in a text which is going to say home. Copy this down a couple of times. We're going to say home, work, other. So home, work, and then other as well as save. So class name for the view, it needs to come into a row fashion, so directly flex of row, some spacing towards the bottom, MB of 6. So for each of the pressable, I'm going to say class name, initialize your backticks over here. Okay, px of 4, py of 2, rounded is going to be full, mr of 2, and dollar check the condition if at all your type. So this state is already initialized onto the top, that is for home, work, and then other. Use that. If at all your type is going to be equals to home. Okay, question mark, it's going to be a bg green of let's say 400. Also we're going to have in your text of white, not wrap, text white, else it is going to have your bg gray of 200. Save, and there you go. Just like that, it's looking good. So similar styling I'm going to give it to the text as well, that is check the condition if at all your type is equals to home, then it's going to be text white, else is going to be text gray. So I'm going to add all of the stylings and then come back. Okay, so let's try to save, and there you go. Just like that, it's looking good. I've also added the on press for each of the items, so you can take a look at it from the starting point if you've missed something. All right, that's it. You can also try to change the type over here, that is home, work, and then other. This part is done. Below this, we're going to have a button which says save address. Let's come back to the pressable, or after the scroll view, I'm going to say pressable. This in turn is going to have in a text which says, save address. Just take in an on press. First of all, let's give the design for this. Class name, bg green of 600, py of 4, pass on the class name over here. This in turn text of white, font of bold, text of center. Save the file. And boom, just like that, it's looking good. So let's try to have an on press. We're just going to say handle save. Okay. So let's go on to the top, define this over here, that is handle save. Const handle save is going to be equals to a normal arrow function. So here I'm directly going to call add address, and this in turn is going to take in a bunch of values, that is your type, then your name, your mobile number, comma your flat number, your block name, building name, your street, your landmark, a pin code, as well as your locality. Alright, that's it. Once this is done, you can directly say navigation.go back. Let's try to format and then save. So actually, let's try to give this a try. Let's try to add in a new address. So I'm just going to keep these as default. So let's say for the flat number, I'm going to give a different value. Let's say 10. Block name is optional. Building name, I'm going to say random or a different name. Street, I'm going to say coffee board. Landmark, behind a salon. Pin code, I'm going to keep it as is. Locality is this one, and then I'm going to press on save address. Alright, so there's some issue with this one. Add address is not a function. Let's look into that. Okay, my bad. By mistake, I have imported from use auth store. So it should be from use address store. So that's the reason it's erroring out. So use address store. So now it should not come. Save. Make sure to change that value. Okay, and let's try to give this one more try. So flat number 45, building name, you can give any building name, street, I'm going to say coffee board, landmark, I'm going to say behind salon, pin code this one, locality that one, and then save address. And boom, just like that, the address should have been added. Once I press on change, the new address should be shown over here, as you can see, just like this. Okay, so the address I've added is this one, so you can choose this one. I think on press is not there, we need to add the on press. We're going to do that, and as you can see, the address is being shown over here. Okay, so that's it. So you can choose any address and then we can press on done, so that address should be chosen over here. All right, so we're going to implement that, and then after that's done, we need to define the backend code, that is the controllers for getting the order, creating a Razorpay order, or creating a normal order as well. And we also need to implement the Razorpay Payment Gateway as well. So let's look into that. First things first, let's try to add in the on press over here, and then let's get back to the backend code and let's start writing the controllers for orders part. So let's come down to this point, that is where we have the address row component, and to this we need to give in your on press so that we can select the address, right? So for the pressable directly, I'm going to say on press, take in a function, and here we can directly say on select. So here I'm going to say on select of item.id. Save the file, and just like that, we're able to select each of the addresses. You can select any address you want, and you can press on done. That would be chosen over here. Okay, so this part is done. So as I said, the next step is we need to write the controllers for your address so that the user can be able to create address, and we also need to set up the Razor Payment Gateway as well. Even for that, we need to write the code. So let me open up my other folder, that is to write the code. That is the other project, admin panel backend. So it is just right towards my right, which is this screen. Okay, so here we need to write the orders.js. We have written for auth, categories, products. Now let's create a new file that is known as orders.js for the controllers, and we're going to write all of the functionalities related to the orders over here. So create orders.js, and over here initially let's try to first of all verify if at all Razorpay is initialized within the backend over here. Yeah, so Razorpay is not there, so make sure to add Razorpay. And we also need to include I think, yeah, Razorpay is enough for now. Let's install that. I'm going to say new terminal. Make sure you're in the backend folder. So cd admin backend yarn add Razorpay. I think that's the correct spelling. Let me verify once. Alright, so that's the correct spelling. Let's directly press on enter. This should be installed. There you go. That's installed. So within the orders.js, let's first of all try to initialize your Razorpay. So I'm going to say const Razorpay is going to be equals to require of Razorpay. And I forgot one more thing. We also need to install the PDF kit, because once the user places an order, we need to send that order information to the user's email. Okay, so again over here I'm going to say PDF kit. We're going to make use of this package yarn add PDF kit, enter. Okay, this part is done. Let's try to initialize your PDF document. I'm going to say const PDF, everything in caps. Document is going to be equals to require of PDF kit. All right, and let's try to initialize your Prisma client. I'm going to say const Prisma is going to be equals to new Prisma client. Let's actually try to import it not from this one but from this package. You can copy that down, come back to your orders file and add it over here. Okay, my bad, back, close this and save. Okay, so let's try to write the get orders functionality. I'm going to say async function. I'm going to say get orders of your request as well as the response. Here again we're going to make use of the pagination, which will be important once when we scale up the application. I'm going to say page equals to 1. Okay, limit is going to be equals to 10. So I've explained clearly how exactly this works in the previous part, that is part 1. You can take a look at it. Obviously if you're coming from part 1, you might have understood how this is going to work, right? It's going to come from request.query. So add in that just like this. Let's try to calculate the skip. This is going to be equals to your page minus 1 multiplied by your limit. Okay, let's try to have in the orders. It's going to be equals to await, not print Prisma dot your order, access the order dot we have find many method, access that. So here we're gonna have your parameters. It should include user of true, skip value is going to be plus skip. Furthermore, your take value is going to be plus limit. Both of these are defined onto the top. That's it, and we can directly try to say result.json of your orders. So all of these we're going to use it in the front end part as well as in the admin panel to show the orders. So this is basically all of your orders. Next we also are going to define get only the specific user orders. Okay, here I'm going to say async function, write that, and then I'm going to say get user orders of your request comma result. Here let's try to have in your user ID. I'm going to say const user ID is going to be equals to your request dot your user dot user ID, and let's try to access the page. It's going to be similar. Copy that down and also copy the skip formula. These are going to remain similar. After this, let's try to access the user order. So I'm going to say const orders is going to be equals to try to say await. I'm going to say Prisma dot order dot I'm going to say find many. Here I'm going to say where it should be matching your user ID, because we only want the user specific orders and we have the order by value. So I'm going to say order by, we're going to say created at in the descending order, so DESC. Okay, so again passing your skip limit, just try to add in these two values over here. It's going to remain the same. That's it. So this is the functionality for getting the orders and then directly say result.json of your orders. Okay, save. So this part is done. So now let's try to get the information of a single order. Here I'm going to say async function get order of your request comma result. Okay, here I'm going to say const id is going to be equals to your request.params. Okay, here let's try to access the order details. I'm going to say const order is going to be equals to await prisma dot order. We have the find unique method, access that, and over here we're going to pass in where it should match the id and it should say include user should be true. That's it. Let's try to format once and let's try to save. This part is done, so I'm going to add in the next function for the update order, so you can take a look at it. So here we are again going to make use of the prisma dot, but just a slight difference, we're going to make use of the update method, and where id data is going to be of your status. Okay, so now the next one is going to be for your create Razorpay order. Let's write that over here. I'm going to say async function. I'm going to say create Razorpay order of your request comma response. Here we need access to three things: your amount, currency, as well as the receipt. So I'm going to say amount comma your currency comma your receipt equals your request dot body. Here we're going to say const order is going to be equals to await your Razorpay, not this one, we need to initialize Razorpay over here. So I'm going to say const Razorpay is going to be equals to new initialize your Razorpay, that is from the package, just like this, and try to add in your key id. First is going to be key id, that is going to be equals to your process dot env dot your Razorpay id. So I'm going to say Razorpay underscore key underscore id. All right, next I'm going to have in the key secret. This is essentially going to be your process dot your env dot your Razorpay key secret, just like this. Okay, so now let's come back to the function over there, that is create Razorpay order, and over here I'm going to say await Razorpay dot we have your create, just use that. Here essentially it's going to take in three things, that is amount, currency, as well as your receipt. So here I'm going to say amount and then the currency as well as your receipt. Okay, that's it. Here we are directly going to say result.json of that specific order. So now the next and final function over here is for the create order. Let's write that. So here itself we're going to implement the PDF functionality as well, that is to generate the PDF along with the invoice. So I'm going to say async function. It is going to say create order, having your request and the response. Here let's try to have in your items comma your total amount comma address comma your payment method, your payment id, and your Razorpay order id. So I'm going to say Razorpay order id is going to be equals to your request dot body. Here let's try to create an order. I'm going to say const order is going to be equals to await prisma dot order dot apply the create method over here, and here essentially, okay, wrong spelling of const. Here this in turn is going to take in the data. Here we're going to have the user id. So I'm going to say user id is going to be equals to your request dot your user id, and all of the items for the order, total amount for the order, address. Next is your payment method as well as your payment id, then your Razorpay order id, that is also required. Furthermore, your status of the payment. So I'm going to say status. Here we are going to say for our payment method is going to be equals to COD. It is going to be in pending state, obviously, else it is going to say it's a paid order. Let's format once. So here let's first of all try to access the user for that specific mail, because we need to send the email to that particular user. Const user is going to be equals to await Prisma dot user dot, we have the find unique functionality. I mean, that's the method we're going to use here. Again, access the where with respect to the ID, that is going to be equals to request dot user dot your user ID. Here, if at all the user ID is not found, or if at all the user information is null, we can directly say no email found for the user, and then we can skip this particular part. Here I'm going to say if not of user or not of user dot email. So then in this case over here we're going to say logger dot, I'm going to say one, no email found for user. That's it, and we can directly try to return the order information over here. So I'm just going to say return result.json of your order. Okay, so next step is let's try to generate the PDF document. So here after the if condition, I'm going to say const PDF doc is going to be equals to new PDF document, just like this. Let's try to initialize the buffers array. It's going to be equals to an empty array. Here I'm going to say PDF doc dot on with respect to the data, and here I'm going to say buffers dot, we have the push method dot bind of all of your buffers. You can just try to implement the functionality over here. So PDF dot on with respect to your end, you're going to have a async function over here. Try to add in that. Then I'm going to say const PDF buffer is going to be equals to your buffer.concat of all of your buffers. So here we're going to initialize the HTML content for all of this. So I'm just going to paste in the code for that, and within the HTML content we're going to have the from to subject as well as the main HTML content. I mean, these are the mail options basically, that is the from to subject. Below that we're going to have the HTML content. So this HTML content is going to contain, let's say, the logo of the company, as well as it says a message saying thank you for your order, and all of the order details that it is going to contain. So let's try to add in that, and we're also going to have in the attachments containing your PDF as well. So within the PDF we're going to generate all of these details. So let's be pasting the code for this. You can take a look at it, have a glance, just try to pause for a bit, and then you can copy down the code for your generating PDF that is starting off from the HTML content or even the mail options as well. So I'll be showing you the code right from scratch. You can take a look at it from the starting point, that is from your create order functionality. Here we need to import the send email with retry. I've already written the code for this, so import that. It should get imported from this particular functionality. Okay, save. And these are the steps for generating the PDF content. Even I'm not sure about how to generate the PDF with the PDF kit. This is my first time implementing the PDF functionality, so you also can take a look at it, how exactly it's being implemented. Okay, so that's it. So at the bottommost part we're going to say result.json of the order. Here I'm directly going to say module.exports is going to be equals to your get orders, get user orders, get single order, update order, create Razorpay order, comma, create order. Let's try to save the file. So this part is done. So next we need to again create the routes for the orders.js. Let's try to add in that over here. So within the routes I'm going to say new file, that is orders.js. Here let's try to access Zod. So const z is going to be equals to require of Zod. Next I'm going to say const router is going to be equals to express.router, that is this one. Let's try to initialize your Razorpay schema. It's going to be equals to z.object. This in turn is going to have in your amount, that's going to be z dot your number, and it's going to be positive. Next we're going to have the currency as well as the receipt. So currency, it's going to be of string. Next is going to be for the receipt. So I'm going to say receipt over here, z dot string again. Let's similarly initialize the schema for your orders. Okay, so I'm going to say order schema. So const order schema is going to be equals to z dot object, and over here it's going to contain all of the items for the order. This is going to be of array, so I'm going to say z dot your array of z dot object, because it's going to be an array of objects. Here we're going to have product ID, that is going to be of string. Next quantity of number, that's going to be z dot your number, and it should be positive, so positive over here. Apart from that, the price for that particular product, so z dot number dot positive. Okay, next you're going to have the total item for the order, not total item, total amount. This is essentially going to say z dot number dot again positive. Next you're going to have is the address. It's going to be z dot object. Next we're going to say your payment method, that is going to be string format. So let's say payment method, it's going to be z dot string. Furthermore, we're going to have your payment ID over here. So I'm going to say payment ID. This is going to be as well string dot your optional. Next and final, your Razorpay order ID. So I'm going to say Razorpay order ID z dot string dot again optional field. Okay, that's it. Let's try to have in all of the routes over here. I'm going to say router dot get method. It is just going to be /. It's going to be get orders. Import that from the controllers. Next we have for the my orders for the user, I'm going to say router dot get. It's going to be my orders. All right, here it needs to be validated, so authenticate token. So we need to write the functionality for that within your middlewares. Okay, so let's actually check out that. Within middlewares we need to have in, let's say, a auth.js file. Let's first of all write the condition for this, or the implementation. This is going to say function authenticate token of your request, result, as well as the next. Okay, let's try to access your auth header, that is going to be equals to request dot headers of your authorization. Okay, next I'm going to say const token is going to be equals to, if at all auth header is there, and I'm going to say auth header dot apply the split method, access the first part with a space to access the value after the bearer. That's how we access it. In JavaScript, first of all check the condition. If not token, then directly say return result dot status of 401 dot JSON with a error being unauthorized. Okay, here let's try to access JWT from JSON web token. Let's import it. Const JWT is going to be equals to require of JSON web token. Here I'm going to say JWT.verify method. That's how we verify it. This in turn is going to take in the token as well as the secret with which it was created. So process dot env dot your JWT secret. Let's add in just like this. This in turn is going to have an error as well as the user. If at all there is any error, I'm going to make use of the logger so it becomes easier to solve it. Directly say logger, import logger from utils dot one. I'm going to say invalid token and dollar error with that specific error. And here I'm going to say return result dot status of 103 dot JSON with a error being invalid token. All right, here we're going to say request dot user is going to be equals to user and directly call the next, so it proceeds after this is after this check is done. Okay, so here I'm going to say module.exports is going to be equals to your authenticate token. Save the file. Let's come back to orders.js within the routes and then let's try to have in the authenticate token over here. So authenticate token imported from the middleware auth, and this should be get user orders. Okay, next route is for the get order. I'm going to say router dot get. So this is going to be your ID and then get order, that is single order. Next is going to be your put method for validate. Okay, so this we can skip for the update order, we can do that later. I'm going to say router.post for the next one is going to be / create Razorpay order. So Razorpay order, this also it has to be authenticated, so authenticate token, and even validate this as well with respect to the Razorpay schema. So import validate from your middlewares just like this on line number 6, and this is gonna validate your Razorpay schema. And here we're directly going to say create your Razorpay order from controllers. So now the final one is going to be with respect to authenticate token. So I'm going to say router dot post. It's just going to say /, but this is for the create order. This also authenticate token is going to have. Then validate of your order schema that's defined onto the top, and then create order imported from the controllers. That's it. Here we can directly say module.exports of your router. So I'm going to say module.exports is going to be equals to router. Save the file. Let's first of all try to give this a try. That is within your orders.js or within your index.js, we need to import the routes basically. So I'm going to say const order routes is going to be equals to require, go into the routes, access the order. Save. App crashed. All right, what is the issue? Let's look into that. Okay, it says OAuth token is mandatory. Okay, that is with respect to the Razorpay initialization. Let's look into that. So before that, let's try to make use of the orders over here. Here I'm going to say app.use /API /v1 /orders and then your order routes. Save the file. Let's come back to the point where we have this orders.js. Okay, so some issue with respect to this one. So over here, let's say directly OAuth token. Oh, okay, there is something that is known as OAuth token. Let's pass in some gibberish value now. Save the file. Okay, so that was some issue. We'll fix that up. And we have a reference error within your routes order.js. Let's fix that up. Wrong spelling of express. Here I'm going to say const express is going to be equals to require of express. Save. And there you go. No issues. Email transporter ready and server running on localhost 3001. Okay, that's good. So now let's actually come back to your .env file, let's verify if all of the details are present. So Razorpay key ID as well as Razorpay key secret is not there. We need to add in these two values over here. So first of all, let me show you how exactly to get the Razorpay key ID as well as Razorpay key secret so that you can paste it over here in this point. So head over to razorpay.com. Make sure you have account. It's pretty simple to create. You can directly log in through Google or create an account through Google. And once you create, it is going to show something like this. So head over to dashboard.razorpay.com/app and this is /dashboard. As you can see, it is currently saying you are currently in test mode, no real money is involved. Okay, and all of this is the money that was processed through test payment itself, that is through the application that we are building. So to get the key, let's press on accounts and settings, and if you want to disable the test mode, just come over here, disable this, it would go back to the real transactions. So come back to accounts and settings, and this is my account, and make sure to check out your API keys over here under your website and app settings. That's where you would find out your API key. So there you go. This is my Razorpay key ID, and once you create a key, automatically a Razorpay key secret is also going to be generated. That is only going to be visible once. So make sure you either download that to your system or copy that somewhere safe. Okay, because once that key is gone, that is once you close that model, you would not be able to see the key, that is a secret key again. So for that reason, copy that down. I've copied both of mine. I'm just going to paste it over here. So this is the Razorpay key ID. The secret, you would have copied that down, paste it over here. That is in place of your value over here. That is Razorpay key ID as well as Razorpay key secret. So I've just pasted in my values and then I've just closed the file. Okay, you can add in your values. So yeah, this part is done. So now the next step is, I've not actually added, the auth token while I was implementing this, but not sure why it's actually giving that issue. Let's actually, try to remove that once. Let's see what exactly happens. If all we get that error again or not. So come back to your routes.js over here. Not routes, your orders.js. Let's remove that. Okay, so that issue is gone, which is good, because in the development phase while I was building this application, I did not enter the OAuth token. So yeah, let's keep it as is. This part is complete. Let's actually, finish writing the users as well. It's pretty simple, just one function. So this would be required for the admin panel part. I'm going to say controllers users.js. All right, here let's try to have in your Prisma const Prisma is going to be equals to new Prisma client. Okay, so not this one. Let's remove that. It's going to come from this one. Add it over there. So here we're going to have just one function, that is get the users and then show it in the admin panel. So I'm going to say async function get users of a request comma result or response. Here I'm going to say const page equals to 1, limit equals to 10, equals to request dot query. Here I'm going to say const skip is going to be equals to, not like this, is going to be equals to your page -1 multiplied by your limit. Let's try to access the users. Const users is going to be equals to await your Prisma dot your user dot access the find many method. Here I'm going to say skip, that is going to be equals to plus skip comma take. This is going to be equals to plus limit. That's it. You can directly say result.json of the users. I'm going to say result.json of your users over here. Okay, here I'm directly going to say modal.exports is going to be equals to the function that is get users. That's it. Let's create a route over here. I'm going to say routes users.js. So routes and then user or users.js. Let's try to initialize express. Const express is going to be equals to require of express. All right, then try to access your router. Const router is going to be equals to express.router. and let's try to initialize the router.get just forward slash. This is going to say get users, import users from your controllers functionality. I mean, not like this, just the function, and directly say module.exports is going to be equals to router. That's it. Let's try to save the file. Let's include within the index.js, come back to index.js, access your user routes basically. So const user routes is going to be equals to require method, go into the routes, go into the users. That's it. Okay, so let's directly say app.use /API /v1, then / your users, and we can pass in your user routes over there. Save the file. So yeah, I think I forgot one more thing, that is a webhook endpoint for the Razorpay, because we had initially discussed that we're going to implement the webhooks over here while implementing the payment gateway. So let's try to write the endpoint, and later I'll be explaining why exactly we're going to use webhooks and how exactly it's going to work in our application. So let's say right below all of these endpoints, I'm directly going to say app.use, not use, app.post. That's going to be /API /v1 /webhook. This in turn is going to have async functionality with the request and response in the callback. Here I'm going to say const signature. It's going to be equals to request.headers of your X Razorpay signature. So Razorpay signature. Okay, and here I'm going to say const webhook secret. Is going to be equals to your process.env dot your Razorpay webhook secret. Let's try to have in your try and catch block over here. I'm going to say try and the catch of error. Directly going to say logger.error of that specific error, and within the try block, let's try to access your schema. I'm going to say const shasum is going to be equals to crypto dot, we have the create HMAC method with respect to the key, that is SHA256, pass in the secret over here, and I'm going to say dot update of your request.body. Okay, so here I'm going to say const digest is going to be equals to your shasum dot digest of your hex. Here check the condition stating that if at all your signature is going to be equals to your digest, and I'm going to access the event. So I'm going to say const event is going to be equals to your requested body. Here I'm going to say if my event dot event is going to be equals to your payment dot captured. Then in this case we're going to get two things, order ID as well as a payment ID. So I'm going to say const order underscore ID comma your payment underscore ID. Payment underscore ID is going to be equals to event dot payload dot payment dot entity. Here I'm going to say await your Prisma. Okay, I don't think Prisma is initialized over here. We need to initialize that. Const Prisma is going to be equals to new Prisma client. Okay, let's come back over here. So we're going to say await Prisma dot order update. Access the order dot update, we're going to say. So with respect to the where your Razorpay ID Razorpay order ID should be equals to your order underscore ID, and your data should say payment ID, and status is going to be equals to paid. So I've just added in the full code. You can take a look at it along with the data, and once that's done, we're going to say result status of 200.end and else result.status of 400.end. That's how to save the file. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that is the code for the webhook part. So now let's basically understand what exactly is a webhook. So webhook is like a mechanism for a single application. So in our case, we are going to use Razorpay Payments to send real-time HTTP requests, that is a post request basically, to another application, that is to our server in this case, when a specific event occurs. So it's like a callback URL that Razorpay calls automatically to notify your app about different changes, like the payment is being completed or it is done. So basically this endpoint is going to listen for the incoming post request that is from Razorpay at HTTP localhost 3001/API/v1 and then webhook. Okay, so what exactly this webhook does is it extracts the signature for verification. So to extract that, we first of all grab the header that is with respect to X Razorpay signature from the incoming request. So this is like a cryptographic signature that is sent by Razorpay to, let's say, to prove the request as kind of authentic and it hasn't been tampered with any other person. Okay, so that's the basic understanding. And next is you're going to verify that, so with the help of the crypto module over here. So this actually internally creates a HMAC SHA 256 hash of the request.body as you've written over here, and it compares this with the computed hash that is digest to the signature from the header. If they match, then the request is actually trusted by Razorpay. That's what we've written over here in the condition. And furthermore, once the payment is complete, it's going to check if at all event.type is going to be equals to your payment.captured, meaning the payment was successfully captured and confirmed by Razorpay. So if yes, it extracts your order ID as well as a payment ID, and it updates the corresponding order in your Prisma database. So for that reason, we're going to say await prisma.order.update, and where is going to be Razorpay order ID and data is going to be equals to your payment ID and the status is going to be marked as paid. Okay, so that's the basic understanding about webhook. So hope you understood about this. So we're going to implement this with respect to the payment feature and functionality. So that's the complete implementation of the backend part. I guess we've written all of the required controllers, endpoints as well. So now we just need to come back to the API client.ts of the front end. First of all, initialize the functionality that is with respect to the create order over here, because we do not have any kind of function so that we can use it directly. So now here within your API client.ts, we're going to have two pieces of functionalities, that is create Razorpay order as well as create order. So yeah, we're going to implement these two, and we're going to come back to the order screen that is over here. Once they choose on either option, we're going to implement based on that. So also over here within your checkout screen, we are also going to open up the Razorpay Payment Gateway. For that, we need to install and initialize a new dependency that is known as React Native Razorpay. So that's what we're going to implement next. So first of all, let's write these two functions and then let's try to implement the payment functionality over here. So here below my login, I'm going to write in for the create Razorpay order. So I'm going to say export const create Razorpay order is going to be equals to async. I'm going to say data. This in turn is going to take in your amount, that is going to be of type number. Furthermore, your currency as well as the receipt. So I'm going to say currency of string. Then your receipt is going to be of string as well. And here we can directly try to call the API. I'm going to say await API dot, it's going to be the post method. This is going to be the URL. Go into the orders and / create Razorpay order. So create Razorpay order. Make sure the spelling is right, otherwise it would error out, and pass in the data for this since it's the post. And here I'm going to say dot data. Okay, that's it. Format once. This step is done. So the next one is going to be for the create order. I'm going to say export const create order is going to be equals to async data. This in turn is going to contain the items for that particular order. So I'm going to say items over here. So here I'm going to say product ID. This is going to be of type string. Furthermore, your quantity is going to be of type number. And next is going to be the price of number as well. So initially an empty array. So these are the items, and furthermore we're going to have your total amount for the order. So total amount, this is going to be of type number. Okay, next you're going to have address, payment method, payment ID, and the Razorpay ID. So I'm going to say address of any, then your payment method, whether it's COD or online, this of string, and I'm going to say payment ID. So I think a semicolon should come over here. Okay, so payment ID, I'm going to say optional over here, string. Furthermore, your Razorpay order ID. This is well a string. All right. So here I'm going to say again await. I'm going to say API dot, it's going to be post, and this is going to be directly order. So / orders, pass in the data and get the data. That's it. The final one is for fetch my orders. That is once they place the order, and for all they check out the store tab or the orders tab, we need to show the orders generated by this particular user. So I'm going to say export const fetch my orders is going to be equals to async, and over here I'm going to say await API.get. It's going to be let's write that properly, / orders and go into my orders. Okay, that's it, and get the data over here. So let's try to save the file. Let's try to come back to your checkout screen, then let's try to implement this. And as I told, we need to include the package that is React Native Razorpay. Let's install that within the main project. I'm going to say yarn add React Native Razorpay, and let's press on enter. So this is for the client side. So come back to checkout screen.tsx over here. And this is the one. And first of all, let's try to write the handle payment function over here. I'm going to say const handle payment. Let's define the function is going to be equals to async. Here first of all, check the condition that if at all the selected address is not present, if at all not of selected address, then we cannot proceed over here. So not select address, selected address. Then in this case, I'm going to say alert dot alert. I'm going to say error. Here I'm going to say please select a delivery address, and we can directly try to say return. Okay. Next, I'm going to check if all the cart items length is equals to 0. Then we are going to say your cart is empty. So check the condition if at all cart items length is going to be equals to 0. Then I'm going to say your alert dot alert. Over here I'm going to say error, your cart is empty, and then directly try to return over here. Here I'm going to say set is processing is true. All right, and here let's try to have in your try catch block. So try catch of errors, and we can try to log the error. I'm going to say console dot error payment error, that particular error message, and I'm going to say alert dot alert error, and I'm going to say failed to process the order. Within your final block, pretty simple, I'm going to say finally set that is processing to be of false again. Set is processing to be of false. Okay. Within the try block, let's start writing the code. First of all, check the payment method. I'm going to say if at all my payment method is going to be equals to COD. Then here I'm going to initialize my order data. So I'm going to say const order data is going to be equals to your items. That is going to be equals to cart items dot apply the map for every item. I'm going to structure it into the format we want to add. That is going to contain the product ID. That is going to be your item.id. Furthermore, quantity. That is going to be item.quantity. Okay. Then price. That is going to be equals to item.price. Alright, next we need access to the total amount for the order. So I'm going to say total amount is going to be equals to cart total price. This is already calculated. You can directly access this. Next is going to be the address. This is going to be simple, selected address. And next payment method you can hard code it because this is a COD. Okay, that's it. Let's try to create the order over here. I'm going to say const order is going to be equals to await. Directly call the create order from the API client. This is the one, and call in the order data over here. Okay, my bad. So this should come below your condition. That is over here. Okay, and we can directly say clear cart over here. So clear cart is actually coming from your dispatch, I guess, not dispatch, your use cart store. Okay, so just call the function because we need to clear the items from the cart. And we can directly say navigation.navigate to the next screen. That is your order confirmation. So I'm going to say navigation.navigate to your order confirmation screen. I think we need to create that screen and then pass in the order information over here. So for now, I'm just going to comment this out and then let's try to save the file. Okay. So else, this is going to be your online payment. So add in the else condition over here. Here you can comment saying online payment. Okay. Here let's try to have in your order data again. Structure it. This in turn is going to have in your amount. That is going to be equals to your cart total price. Again, add in that. Multiplied by 100. This is to be in paise. Next, currency is going to be in INR and your receipt. Okay, I forgot to add a comma over here. This is going to say receipt, wrong spelling. So here essentially we are going to say receipt underscore dollar date dot now. Okay, that's it. So now let's try to call the function similarly how we have done it over here. So below the order data, I'm going to say const your Razorpay order is going to be equals to await. Directly call the create Razorpay order and then pass in your order data over here. Okay, you can actually try to log the Razorpay ID if you want to add, or the Razorpay order as well. And let's try to have in the cleaned contact over here. So let's try to add it over here. So const cleaned contact is going to be equals to, check this value for all user.phone is present, then choose this and replace it with this particular regular expression and then slice, that is with the help of -10. Okay, so next I'm going to get in all of the options that we're going to use. So these options are required by the Razorpay checkout package that we're going to use from this one, that is React Native Razorpay. Currently it's not yet imported. Let's do that. So these options are going to be essentially an object that is going to contain your description, your image for your company. Okay, you can add in that, the currency that's required, as well as the key. Okay, and your amount, as well as the pre-filled data and the theme as well. So I'm just going to get that below the cleaned contact. So let's try to add it over here. Okay, so as I said, this is going to contain a bunch of values, that is description, image, currency, key. You can take a look at it. You can add in your own kind of image for your company. Okay, whatever you're using. I've added my image. I'll be sending that in the description. You can take a look at it. And the currency is going to be equals to your Razorpay order.currency. Key is the key which you copied from the dashboard. I've already shown that how to copy that. Add in the key over here. Amount is going to be this one. Okay. Name is going to be your company name, whatever you want to add. I've added fresh to home. That's the company. And these are the pre-filled details. Email, user.email, contact is going to be cleaned contact, and then name is going to be user.name. This is the theme I'm using. Retry, I'm going to say enabled true. Maximum count is going to be 3. Okay. So once this is initialized, here we need to open up the Razorpay checkout. So for that, I'm going to say const data is going to be equals to await. And I'm going to say Razorpay checkout dot open. So we need to import that Razorpay checkout. Let's go on to the top and then we're going to import it over here. Okay, so for some reason it's not valid. Probably we need to do a pod install again. Let's check out once Razorpay. Yeah, it is installed. Let's come back over here. I'm going to say cd ios pod install, enter. So let's wait for the dependency to install. So hopefully it should, install the React Native Razorpay package. Okay, as you can see, Razorpay pod as well as React Native Razorpay. So now let's try to actually clear the cart and we're gonna reload the application once again. Okay, so this is a different error. It says could not find declaration file for module. So yeah, we need to install this. That is npm I save def the types for React Native Razorpay. Install that and this error should be gone. So let's try to reload the application. First of all, let's try to add in this package onto the main project. Copy that down and then enter. Yeah, we can actually continue writing the code for this. So where we have the function over here, it's going to be equals to Razorpay dot open. I mean Razorpay checkout dot open of the options that we have initialized. Open of your options. Okay, they should be over here. Then this is gonna have in the catch block, which in turn is gonna contain the error. Here I'm gonna say console dot error Razorpay open error with that particular error message. Here I'm going to say throw error. That's it. So here I'm going to first of all check if at all the data dot Razorpay payment ID is present. We need to create the order with that particular payment ID. So I'm going to check if my data dot Razorpay payment ID is present, and I'm going to say const full order data is going to be equals to your items. That is going to be your cart items dot map for every item over here. I'm going to say your product ID is going to be your item dot ID. Next, your quantity is going to be equals to your item dot quantity. Let's actually try to reload the app. Yarn iOS, enter, and hopefully that underline should have been gone. There you go. We have installed the types for that, so it is gone, which is good. So let's come back over here, and yeah, quantity is going to be item dot quantity. Furthermore, we want the price. That is going to be item dot price. Then we have access to your total amount. So I'm going to say total amount is going to be equals to similarly cart total price, and you can try to add in the payment method as well as a payment ID. So payment method, I'm going to say online, and payment ID should be equals to your data dot your Razorpay payment ID. Okay, then next I'm going to say Razorpay order ID. So Razorpay order ID is going to be equals to your Razorpay dot ID. Okay, that's it. So this part is done. We can directly try to call the create order of that particular order. So below this, I'm going to say const order is going to be equals to await create order of your full order data. And here I'm just going to say again clear cart. Okay, that's it. Again, we need to navigate over here. First of all, copy that command and then add it over here. Alright, so you can take a look at this. Let's try to format once and then save. Okay, you can add in all of these details and then you can try to save the file, and you can navigate once we have the order confirmation screen. So let's try to create that. I'm going to say screens and then order confirmation screen. So order confirmation screen.tsx. So RNFES to get the Sujan code snippet. Let's try to save the file. Let's include the screen within the main navigator. Let's see over here below the add address, I'm going to say order confirmation component to render is going to be equals to your order confirmation screen. So import the order confirmation screen from the screens folder just like this. Let's try to save the file and we can actually try to uncomment it now. So I hope we have the routes initialized for this. Let's verify that. Okay, you can try to add it over here, or we can directly say navigation navigate order confirmation. That's what is written as of now. So come back to checkout screen. So yep, I think it should navigate. Okay, so uncomment it. Okay, so save. So now let's actually wait for the app to load, and once it loads, we're gonna try to create an order, and let's first of all see if at all there is any issue or it works properly fine. If at all it works fine, we can directly jump into the order confirmation screen, design that, and we can also start designing the orders for a particular user. That is whatever they've created in the store tab. Alright, so the app has been loaded, which is good. Let's try to give this a try. Let's add some items to the cart. Let's say just one item for now. View cart. Okay, I think I forgot to give the on press for the handle payment. That's missing. So let's do that. First of all, let's come back to your point where we have the proceed to checkout. I mean, not this one. Your continue button. So let's scroll down over here, or let's search for continue. Control F. Yeah, I think this is the one. So I'm going to add the design for this. You can take a look at it. That is for is loading as well. I mean, not is loading, is processing, as well as the on press is going to be equal to handle payment. Save the file. Okay. And if at all it is processing is true, then we're going to disable that. All right. And here, if it is processing, you need to show it as processing, else it's going to be continue over here. Okay. So for now, first of all, let's try the cash on delivery option. And once that is done, we're also going to try the Razorpay online method. So let's press on this cash on delivery option. And yes, your address is already selected. Let's press on continue. Okay. It says failed to process order, payment error, request failed with status code 500. Okay. Let's check out the backend code. So if I would scroll towards my right, yeah, so there is some issue with this. Okay, it says invalid prisma.order.create invocation in this thing. Alright guys, so I actually tried fixing this issue, but I also tried to implement it using your Razorpay Payment Gateway, but even that is failing. As you can see, if I press on continue, it is giving the error. And I actually took some time and then figured this out. So there is some issue with respect to your schema.prisma. So we need to verify that once. So over here, if you would check out the schema.prisma within your Prisma model over here. So as you can see over here, your Razorpay ID is not optional. That is, it's compulsory as of now, even for your COD orders as well. So that's the reason it's failing. That is with respect to the COD. So let's make sure we have this optional. Okay. So whether it is COD, also it should work. And whether it's Razorpay Payment Gateway also, it should work, because for COD obviously this should not be present, and for Razorpay Payment Gateway, even though this is optional, we can pass in the value. So that's pretty good. Okay, so make this change, and we also need to do npx prisma generate again. So make sure you're into the backend folder. I'm going to say npx prisma generate, enter. Next, npx prisma db push, npx prisma db push, enter as well. And there you go. The database is already in sync with the Prisma schema. All right, that's good. This part is done. So next, let's understand why your Razorpay order creation is not, happening correctly, as you saw over here in the front end part. So here the issue is with respect to the typo that I've made. So if you would check out the controllers, that is for the categories, not categories, orders.js. Here it needs to be Razorpay dot your orders.create. I have written just Razorpay.create. If you would check out your create orders functionality, as you can see, it is just gonna say Razorpay.create. So this is wrong. It should be Razorpay dot your orders.create. Then only it's gonna work. Save the file. So these are some of the issues that I've found. Hopefully, it should work now. So before that, let's come back to the front end part. And within the checkout screen, let's remove this. Previously, I've added it just for checking. So just payment method COD until that, and we can omit the Razorpay order ID and the payment ID entirely for the COD part. Okay, just like this. And for your options over here, I think, yeah, it is being correctly shown. And even we do have your full order data being correctly shown. Okay, so Razorpay order ID is going to get generated over here. That's it. Let's try to save the file. Now let's first of all try the cash on delivery. That's simple. If at all we have done everything correctly, that is, if at all our fixes are right, this should work. And we need to navigate to the order confirmation screen. So let's say continue, and boom, just like that, it was processing the order. Once the order is processed, we are coming correctly to the order confirmation screen. So if you check this out, so just like this, we need to design this one over here. Let's get started with the design of the order confirmation screen. So once this is done, we can actually finish writing the code for the front-end application, that is by finishing off the store design. So I'm gonna go back to my screen where we have order details or order confirmation screen. And let's say this point, let's initialize the navigation. I'm going to say const navigation is going to be equals to your use navigation. Import your use navigation from React navigation. I'm going to say const route is going to be equals to use route. Import that. Initially, let's pass in any. Okay, I'm going to get in the order. I'm going to say const order is going to be equals to your route.params. All right. So within the view, let's initially pass in the design. Class name, I'm going to say flex of 1, bg white, item center, justify center, some internal spacing, padding of 4. Okay. So now here we're going to have in your iron icons with, the tick mark design. So essentially remove this text and let's have in a view. Within that, I'm going to have in your iron icons imported from React Native vector icons. Let's pass on the name check mark circle. So let's try to add it just like this. Size, it's going to be pretty big, so 48. Color is going to be this color code. So I'm going to say hashtag 16A and then 34A. Save the file. There you go. That's looking good. Let's try to add in that round color greenish design for this particular tick mark button. So taking a class name, I'm going to say width of 20. So width 20, height is going to be 20 as well. Within this one, height 20. I'm going to say rounded full, as well as BG green of, let's say, just 100 or lighter shade. Items of center, justify of center as well, MB of 4. Let's give a format once and then let's try to save. And there you go. Just like that, it's looking pretty good. So below the view, we're going to have two texts, order placed and your order ID. That is going to be the original order ID. So having a text which is going to say order is placed. Below that, I'm going to have in one more text which is going to say your order hashtag order.id. So I'm going to say order.id has been placed successfully. Okay, so class name for the first text, this in turn is going to say text of 2XL, font of bold, text gray of 900, add in that MB of 2. Save. And there you go. Just like that, this is looking good. Let's finish styling the second piece of text. This is going to have a smaller text, so text SM, text gray of 500. Okay, and text is going to say center, MB of 6. Save. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. Let's try to design all of the other details over here. Having a view for this, this in turn is going to have about 3 to 4 texts or 5 texts. So text 1 is going to say order details. So order details, add in just like this. Below that, we're going to have your order total amount, your length for the order, that is items within it. So I'm going to say total over here is going to say order dot your total amount, but I'm going to say to fixed of 2, not to 0, safe. As you can see, order total is going to be 525 rupees. Add in this a couple of times. So next one is going to be for the items. I'm going to say items over here. Next is going to be for your status. I'm going to say status. Furthermore, your payment. I'm going to say payment safe. Let's style this out properly. It's not looking good. So pass on the value, and also need to change all of these values as well. So the second one is going to be equals to your orders dot items. We have that dot length. It should be 1 because we have one item over there. Next is going to be order status, whether it's paid or not. So order dot status, it should be pending. There you go, it's pending. If you have done the payment through Razorpay Gateway, then it should be completed or paid. So here I'm going to say payment method. So as you can see, it is correctly showing COD. That's good. Let's pass on the class name for this. I'm going to have it a width of full. Then I'm going to say BG gray of 50. Rounded is going to be LG. Some internal spacing, padding of 4, MB of 6. Okay. Here I'm going to say class name. Font is going to be semi bold. MB of 2. Here furthermore class name. I'm going to give a text of SM, text gray of 600. The same thing for all of the other texts as well. So just copy down the class name for the remaining 3 pieces of text. 1, 2, and then 3. And there you go. Just like that. It's looking pretty good. So for your view, we've already given the styling. The next part is for the touchable opacity, which is continue shopping as well as view orders. So this is just for the design part. I've not yet added the navigation to these 2 buttons. You can try to look into the stack and then you can add it on your own. So here I'm going to say touchable opacity. Import that from React Native. Having a text which is going to say continue shopping. So let's try to add that one more time. This is going to say view orders. So just by looking at your stack, you should be able to navigate. But for now, I'm just going to design it as I said. So for the touchable opacity class name, it's going to have BG green of 600, PY of 3, PX of 6, rounded of full. And here I'm going to say class name. So this in turn is going to have an text of white. Let's add in text of white. Apart from that, font of semi bold, safe. There you go. That's looking good. So for the next touchable opacity, we're just going to have some empty top, that is margin top of 4. All right. And here I'm going to say class name for the view. I mean, not for the view, for the text, which says view orders. So here essentially text green of 600, font of semi bold, safe. And there you go, just like that. This is looking good. And once if I reload the application, again we need to start off from the starting point. So now the cart should be empty, and obviously we do have persistence as well. So even though I press on button, the cart should be cleared by now. There you go, that is cleared. Let's say I'm going to add in 2 more items. View cart. This time we need to implement the Razor Payment Gateway. Let's check if at all it's working fine. I'm going to choose Razorpay option and continue. And boom, just like that, the Razor Payment Gateway is opening. So secured by Razorpay. All right, so let's pay through UPI. So we have a bunch of options. I'm going to choose UPI over here. Let's add in your number as well as your UPI ID. I'm going to add your OK HDFC Bank and continue. And it says open your Google Pay app and complete the payment. So once it's done, automatically we should be able to, proceed with the order. And the order should be created. As you can see, confirming payment. Payment successful. You will be redirected in 2 seconds and boom, just like that, order placed. So as you can see, status is paid. Payment is online mode. Items is 2 this time. Total amount is going to be 1068. Okay, so this part is done. You can try to add in the navigation. It's pretty simple. I'm going to leave that for now. So let's reload now. One final step remaining over here is your Google login that needs to be done. And we need to, set up the store part over here. That is a design. Now the store, essentially, we need to show all of the orders for a particular user. That's going to look something like this. So let's get started to look into all of these designs over here. Okay, so let's come back to your store screen. This is the one. And let's design this particular screen containing your orders for a specific user. So before that, I'm going to have in all of my interfaces over here. I'm going to say interface order item. This in turn is going to have in product ID of string, your quantity of number, then I'm going to say price also is going to be of number. Okay, next I'm going to say your interface order address. This in turn is going to have in flat number of string, your block name is going to be string as well, locality of string, pin code string. Next one is going to be with respect to the order itself. So I'm going to say interface order. This is going to have a unique ID. So ID of string, items is going to be of type order item. So add in that with an array. Next is going to be the total amount for the order. So total amount. This in turn is going to be of a type number. Add in that your status. So status is going to be string. Address is going to be equals to your order address. So we have defined that onto the top. Use that, and created at value is going to be of type string. Next is going to say payment method. This also is going to be string. All right, that's it. So here let's try to implement the return block. Or before that, yeah, so even in this screen we're going to have in your skeleton loading as well. So that's a useful feature to implement. So we're going to implement that. So first of all, within this, let's try to get in the data with the help of the use query hook. I'm going to say const data of orders is loading, comma error, comma your refetch, and is refetching is going to be equals to use query. Import that from tan stack query. It's going to be of type order, and passing your query key. I'm going to say my orders over here. Next, I'm going to pass in the query function. We can directly call in the function which we have used, that is fetch my orders from the API client. So this would fetch only the user's orders. Okay, let's have an on refresh. So I'm going to say const on refresh is going to be equals to use callback, import that from React, and call the refetch over here. This is going to be dependent upon refetch. So refetch and call the refetch over here. So the latest orders are going to be refetch and then shown to the user, just like this. Save. Okay, no issues, that's good. So here within the return block, I'm going to have in my safe area view being initialized. So I'm going to say safe area view from context. Let's pass on the class name to this. This in turn, I'm going to say flex of 1, bg zinc of let's say 50. As you can see, you're able to see that style being applied. So header is going to say my orders as well as view your recent orders and their status. Then I'm going to have in a view. This in turn is going to have a text, which in turn is going to have in my orders. Okay, here we're going to have in your class name, which is going to say text of Excel. Font is going to be extra bold. Text slate of let's say 900. Add in that, save the file. As you can see, that's looking good. And below this, I'm going to have in one more piece of text which says view your recent orders and their status. Alright, so for the view, let's pass on the design. Class name, px of 4, pt of 2, pb of 3. And for this, I'm going to say class name, empty is going to be 0.5, text is going to be xs, text zinc of 500. Save the file. There you go. That's looking pretty neat. So first of all, let's check if at all your loading is true. So here I'm going to say is loading true. Then I'm going to show the skeleton. So currently it's going to be hard coded. We're going to show with the help of component. I'm going to say orders skeleton or order skeleton, and depending upon how many ever orders we have. Basically for a page you can show 3, that's the only thing. Okay, so I'm going to say skeleton. So even though you have more orders, it wouldn't be shown on the initial render. You can just directly try to show 3 over here. Okay, let's have in a view, and within that let's try to show all of these. So here I'm going to say view, else we are going to show a condition. Okay, not a flat list, we're going to have it just like this. So this in turn is going to first of all check if at all your orders and your orders.length is going to be equals to 0 question mark. So here in this case I think we need to remove this, not required. Yeah, here we can have a view. Within that we're going to have no orders yet, and below that it's going to say you haven't placed any orders, and when you place one they'll show up over here. I'm just going to add in the design for that. So let's say I'm going to paste it over here. You can take a look at it, and you can also note down the styles as well. Else if at all the orders dot length is greater than 0, we are going to show a flat list. Import that from React Native, and over here we're going to have in your data, that is going to be your orders. Furthermore, we're going to have in your key extractor, pass in that. This in turn is going to have an item. So item just like this, it's going to be equals to item.id. Then you render item method. First of all destructure the item, and over here I'm going to say show a order card for each of the order being present. So this in turn is going to take in the order, that's going to be equals to item. Below that we're going to have in your show vertical scroll indicator, set it to be false. So show vertical scroll indicator false. Furthermore, your refresh control, here I'm going to say include your refresh control over here from React Native, and control is going to be equals to not of is refetching. On refresh directly call to your on refresh. This function is going to come from this particular one. Okay, that's it. So next one I'm going to say your list footer component, take in a view, and here I'm going to have an a class name which is going to say height of 6. Okay, so you can take a look at it along with the brackets. I've just fixed that up. So we need to define two things. One is your order skeleton. Let's try to define that initially. Apart from that, your order card component. So let's say over here const order skeleton is going to be equals to a normal arrow function. This in turn is going to have a view, and for this I'm going to provide in the class name. It's going to have mx of 4, my of 2, and rounded is going to be 2xl, a bg of white, a slide border, and border zinc. So let's say that border zinc of 200, and a small shadow. So shadow of sm. Save. Okay, so property order card doesn't exist, so we should not save the file because we also have this component to render as well. So yeah, within this, let's first of all design this completely. It's going to have a view within this. Within that, one more view, which is going to contain 2 more views. That is for the animating. It's going to be self-enclosing itself. So for each of these, I'm going to say class name, height of 4, width of 32. It's going to be rounded, and then bg zinc of let's say 200. I'm going to say animate of pulse. So for the second one, it's going to be height of 6, width of 20. So head 6, width 20. Rounded is going to be full. bg zinc of 200. Again, animate of pulse. For the outer view, this one, it's going to have a flex of row, items of center, as well as justify of between. Add in that, and below this we're going to have 5 single views just like this, self-enclosing. All of these is going to have animate of pulse with a height and width and a rounded value. So I'm going to say class name for the first one, empty of 3. It's going to have a height of 3 as well, width of 40. It's going to be rounded, and a BG zinc of, let's say, 200. This is going to remain constant for all of the values, and then animate of pulse. I'm going to add in 5 more views with changes with respect to the empty as well as the width. So you can take a look at it. Let's try to format once. Okay, and below this view, we're going to have in a bottom view. So we're just trying to replicate this design such that after all it's loading, we're going to show the skeleton loading just according to this one over here. So you'll understand once when this is completed how exactly it's going to look. So yeah, even this we have 2 views. Let's pass on the class name for this. It's going to say height of 1 pixel, width of full, PG zinc of 200. Here I'm going to say view, class name empty of 3, height of 4, and then width of 36, rounded, BG zinc of, let's say, 200. Apart from that, animate of pulse. Alright, and for the view over here, I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to have some padding x, so px of 4 as well as a pb of 4. Save. Reload the app once. So we still need to define that component, that is your order card. Otherwise, again, it's going to error out. So let's say just below this, I'm going to say const order card. Okay, this in turn is going to take in the order. I'm going to say order is going to be of type order that we've already defined. So here let's try to return a view. So I'm going to say return a view, and on the top let's try to show the order ID. So I'm going to say view, and then we can try to look into the order design. So this view in turn is going to have one more view, which in turn is going to have a text which is going to say order hashtag order.id. So order.id dot slice of 0,8. Let's try to save the file. Let's come back to store. So hopefully we should be seeing the skeleton loading. If all it's loading for the first second or 0.5 seconds. So let's check that out. And boom, just like that, it was loading for a 0.5 second, and we're able to see both the orders over here. Okay, so that's looking good. This part is done. So let's say for the outermost view, I'm going to pass in the design. So class name, this in turn is going to say BG of white. Rounded is going to be 2xl, mx of 4, my of 2. It's going to have a border and border zinc of 200. Then I'm going to say shadow of sm, overflow hidden, and then save. As you can see, that design is coming correctly fine. This is looking okay. So for the outer view over here, I'm going to say class name, some internal spacing, padding of 4, pb of 3. Alright, and for this particular view, this in turn is going to have a flex of row, items of center as well as justify of between, and below the text we're going to have in the status, having a view, which in turn is going to have in a text which is going to say your order.status. Save. There you go. The first one is paid because that's the latest order that is done with the Razorpay order. The first order which we did was pending because that was a COD, so it is showing correctly fine. So class name over here, and here let's try to have in the backticks, not like this, just like this, px of 2.5, py of 1, rounded is going to be full. Here I'm going to say status chip classes. So this we need to define onto the top. So status chip classes of your order.status. So based on each status, we're going to show different colors. So for paid, it's going to be this. For pending, it's going to be that. So I'm just going to add the code for that. Let's say right above over here. So it's going to be status chip classes. This in turn is going to take in the parameter from this point, basically order.status. That's going to be of type string. So here we're going to say const key is going to be equals to status.to lowercase. So we have a bunch of status, that is delivered, cancelled, pending, and then shipped. So based on that, it's going to show the design over there. Okay, save the file. As you can see, just like that, is looking good. you can take a look at this once again. Let's come back over here, and for your text, I'm going to say class name. This in turn is going to, have in text of 11 pixels. Furthermore, font of semi-bold, and it's going to be uppercase. That's looking pretty good. So below this view, we're going to have your second design over here. Here actually I'm going to get in the code because we need to have all of the icons. So you can actually use your emoji keyboard and then get in all of these icons. That is the shop icon, as well as your COD, as well as the date. That's going to be the second part. So I'm just going to get in the icon for that, or you can use your React Native vector icons as well. So I'm just going to add it right below this, and we also need to implement the format part. So this format is going to come from your date FNS. So I'm going to say yarn add date FNS, import that. And we also need access to your items count. Let's get that over here. I'm going to say const items count is going to be equals to use memo, import that from React. And over here I'm going to say your order dot go into the items, but apply the reduce method for every accumulator as well as the current value. This in turn is going to be equals to your accumulator plus, to access that is going to be equals to item dot quantity. Passing the initial value, that is going to be 0 over here. Okay, you can add just like this. Let's try to save the file. Come back over here. Format doesn't exist, so import format from React Native date FNS. So onto the top, not React Native, just date FNS. Here I'm going to say import format from date FNS. Save. Reload again. Store. And there you go. October 7th, 2025. October 7th, 2025. It's correctly being shown. This is looking fine. So below that, we're going to have a kind of divider design. So let's try to add that. So let's say below this particular view, I'm going to have in a view. It's going to say, class name, empty of 3. And your height is going to be of, let's say, 1 pixel. Just like this. BG zinc of 100. There you go. That's pretty light. You cannot see it, but I'm able to see it. Okay. So that's looking fine. Next, let's try to show in the items design. Having a view for that. This in turn is going to have in a text which is going to say items. Below that, I'm going to map over it order.items dot map for every IT as well as IDX over here. Let's try to have in a view. Within this view, I'm going to have in a text which is going to say it.quantity x. I'm going to have in one more text which is going to have in the product with your it.product ID. Save. As you can see, just like that, we're able to show all of these details. That's looking good. And below this particular text, we're going to have one more piece of text. This is essentially going to have the it.price. So I'm going to say it.price for the product dot to fixed of 2. There you go. That's looking good. Let me add the design for this. So class name essentially px of 4. And for this, I'm going to say again class name. It's going to have a text of XS, font of semi-bold, and then text slate of 700, MB of 1.5. Save. And boom, just like that, it's looking good. So for the outermost view, let's provide in the class name. So I'm going to say class name over here. I'm going to say, so before that, let's provide the key. That's going to be equals to IDX over here. I'm going to say key IDX, and for the class name over here, I'm going to give it a flex of row because we want it in a row fashion, and then items of center, justify between, and a py of 1. And for the first piece of text, I'm going to say class name, text of XS, and text zinc of 600. And just like that, is looking pretty neat. This part is done. And for the second text, it's going to be font of medium. So I'm going to say font medium. Okay, yeah, I think I forgot to add in the class name for this one. Let's add it. Again, text of XS. Font is going to be semi-bold, and then text slate of 800 or 600. Okay, that's looking good. Let's try to add in the total as well as the address design over here. That is right below this particular view. And there you go. Total as well as the delivery address, both of them have been added. You can take a look at it. Format once. And let's try to save the file. So this is for the order part. This is for the total part. And this is for your delivery address over here. So below this, we're going to have this particular track and support design. That's a really good looking design. That's going to come right below your view. That is this one. So I'm going to have in a view. This in turn is going to have in a text which is going to say track and support. Let's try to pass in the class name for this. This in turn is going to have in a border on the top. So border T and border zinc of let's say 200. It's going to have a BG violet of 50, PX of 4, PY of 2.5, and for this which is track and support, it's going to have a text of 12 pixels. So add it inside of brackets, 12 pixels. Font is going to be bold, so I'm going to say font bold, and then text violet of 700. Save. And there you go. Just like that, that's looking good. I'm just going to get in the icon that is going to be present over here. That is the box icon. And there you go. Just like that, the design is looking good along with the box. And if I reload now, as you can see, we do have that refresh control as well. It should fetch the latest orders over here. So even though we do not have any orders, obviously it's not going to show anything. If at all an order is created, once the user refreshes, it should show the latest order over here because we have set up the on refresh control, and it should essentially call this over here. That is refetch. It should fetch the latest order for your my orders. Okay, that's it. So this part is complete. So now the next step is the only part pending over here within the user application is the Google login. So once I press on logout, we're coming correctly to your login screen. So here I think even login is not implemented. That is, if I come to login screen.tsx, the functionality is not being given, the design is done, and apart from that we also need to implement the sign up with Google or sign in with Google directly. Okay, so these two parts are pending, and in your admin panel part, that is in this particular application, we need to do two things. That is to show the users details within the front end part of the application, as well as to show the orders to the admin. That is, whatever order any user creates, that order should be shown into the orders tab. That is with respect to this one. That is, we have three tabs over here: categories, users like this, and the orders like this. It should show the status. So that's what we're going to implement next. We can actually look into this design, that is the showing of users as well as the orders. That's going to be pretty simple. And after that we can look into the final part, that is to implement the login functionality. It's already done, I guess. We just need to call the functions, and we need to implement this from scratch, that is sign in with Google. So let's look into that. So first of all, let me run this application and come back. That is, the admin panel should be running. This is built using Expo, so we need to run npx expo start. I'm just going to clear off this screen and then run the other application. Alright guys, so I've just opened up the application over here. That is the admin panel. So here we had two parts missing. That is the designing of your user screen as well as designing of your order screen or the orders tab. So let's get started. So if you remember, we also have a API client file within the backend folder. That is this one. So here let's try to I don't think this is the one, because within your backend folder this also should be present. Okay, so yeah, so this for the front end part. I'm going to say admin panel. Let's create a new folder over here. I'm just going to say src, or you can just name it as API. Within that you can say new file, API client.ts. Okay, so let's start writing the code over here. Initially, let's initialize your base URL. I'm going to say const API underscore base URL is going to be equals to whatever URL is the base URL, that is HTTP, and then localhost 3001 /API/v1. Okay, here I'm going to say export const API is going to be equals to, I'm going to say Axios, import Axios from Axios dot create method. Here let's try to have in the base URL, that is going to be your API base URL. Furthermore, let's pass on the headers. here I'm just going to say content type is going to be equals to your application / JSON. So application / JSON. Let's try to format once and then save the file. Okay, let's try to export just two functions. One is for the users and one is for your orders part over here. Okay, so here I'm going to say export const fetch users is going to be equals to async function. Here I'm going to say await API dot, it's going to be get of the users. That's it, and we need to say dot data to get the data back. So the second one is going to be for the fetch orders, and after that we're going to write it for the fetch orders by ID. So I'm going to say export const fetch orders is going to be equals to async. All right, so here we are going to say await API dot again get, so it's going to be / orders over here, orders, and then dot data. So the final one is going to be for the fetch orders by ID, because once over here they come back to orders. If they press on this, we need to go back to the order detail over here, that is the next screen, right? So this is for this function. So I'm going to say export const fetch order by ID, order by ID is going to be equals to async of ID of type string. It's going to be equals to await, I'm going to say API dot get, here I'm going to say / orders and then $ID. Okay, that's it, and this in turn is gonna get in the data over here. So that's pretty much it. Let's format once, and if you want to upgrade the app, and then also try to update the order status like from the admin panel, and that particular order status should be visible to the user using the user app. So let's say initially the order is going to be in your received state, that is from the user to the admin panel, and you can pass it as shipped as well as delivered or cancelled. So you can try to include that as well, that is update order status. Okay, so now let's try to save the file. Let's include these two things as of now. Let's come back to your users tab. So I'm going to say user screen.tsx. So first of all over here, let's try to initialize the interface that we're going to use for the user. I'm going to say interface user. Let's pass on the ID, that is string, your name of string, email is also going to be of string. Let's add in that. Then your role is also going to be of type string. Okay, here within the user screen, let's try to access the data for the users. I'm going to say const data of users, and then is loading is going to be equals to use query. Import that from tanstack query of type user over here. Okay, and this essentially is going to take in your query key as well as the query function. So let's add in that. Query key is going to be equals to users, and that is just like this. And let's add in the query function. This is going to say fetch users, call it from your API client. Okay, so fetch users, this is the one, admin backend and then API client. That's correct. So here let's come back to the return block. Let's first of all try to save the file. Okay, no issues, that's good. So here I'm going to make use of my safe area view instead of the view that's present. So safe area view, and for this I'm going to pass in the class name that is going to have a flex of 1 and then a bg slate of 50. Here let's design the header part of it, have in this view and contain a text which is going to say users, and here we're going to have in one more piece of text which says manage application users. So manage application users. For your view, let's pass on the class name. Here I'm going to say bg indigo of, let's say, 600, some internal spacing, padding of 5, border is going to be B, and border indigo of 700. All right, so for the text which says users, let's pass on the class name over here. I'm going to say text of 2xl, font of bold, text of white, and text of center. Save the file. As you can see, that's looking good. So here for the second text, pass on the class name, text of SM, text indigo of let's say 100, and text of center empty of 1. Okay, that's looking good. So next, let's try to show the users with the help of the flat list. I'm going to say if is loading is true. So here I'm going to say having a view. This in turn is going to have in a text which says loading users dot dot dot, and here if at all we do have the users present, let's try to render the flat list. Or let's add in one more condition. Basically, let's remove this. I'm going to say if at all my users and if at all users dot length is greater than 0. So then again here we're going to show the flat list, else we're going to show a view giving a message saying that there are no users as of now. Here I'm going to say flat list. Import flat list from React Native. Let's design that. So here complete this design. For the else block, I'm going to say no users found, and try adding users from the admin panel. Having a text over here, I'm going to say try adding users from the admin panel. Save. And for this particular view, I'm going to say class name, give it a flex of 1, justify of center, as well as item center, a px of 6, and for this which says no users found, having a class name, it's going to be text of LG, and then a text gray of 600. So as you know, this design is not going to be shown because obviously we do have the data for the users. So yeah, you can try it out at the initial point while designing before the user is created. Next, text of center, and for this having a class name, and text is going to be SM, and text gray of 400, empty is going to be 1, and then text of center. So let's design the flat list over here. So this in turn is going to take in the data and the render item. Data is going to be equals to users. I'm going to say users over here. Furthermore, your render item, I'm going to say render user. Here I'm going to say key extractor. This in turn, is going to take in the item, and here I'm going to say item.id. Let's also pass in the content container style. Here I'm going to say your padding bottom of let's say 24. Let's go on to the top and then render the user over here. That is, define the component render user. I'm going to say const render user is going to be equals to, this in turn is going to destructure the item, and here item is going to be of type user. Add in that. Here let's have in a view. Within this we're going to have in the avatar circle with the initials, that is just like this. Okay, I'm just going to get the code for that, so you can try to add it over here just like this. Let's try to save the file, and there you go. So we have two users, C as well as U. So the first value, whatever is from the email, that is going to be in the circle just like this. You can take a look at it along with the design. So below that particular view, we're going to show the name. So I'm going to say view over here. This in turn is going to have in a text which is going to say item.name. So item.name, if it's present, it's going to be equals to item.name. Else I'm just going to say name is not provided. So if at all they log in with Google, we do have access to the item.name. Okay, so save. So as you can see over here, we have the code. So here the first user is logged in with Google email, and the second one is logged in with just the normal email. So they do not have basically the name, so that's the reason it's showing name is not provided. All right, that's looking good. So here let's pass on the class name for this. I'm going to say text of LG, and font is going to be semi bold, and a text gray of 800. Okay, let's try to save. That's looking fine. So next is going to be the item.email. Let's show that. Pass on the text and directly try to access item.email. Save. As you can see, both of them would have access to email, because when you log in through Google, obviously email should be present, and when you do a normal sign up also, email is required, and both are correctly showing fine. So for the view over here, let's provide in some class name and styling. So ml of 4 and a flex of 1, save. And for the text which says email, let's say class name, I'm gonna say text of sm. So text sm, text gray of 500, empty of 1. That's looking good. So apart from that, we're gonna have the item.role. So below the view, I'm gonna say view, and within this I'm gonna have an one more view basically. So add in that. Within that I'm gonna have in a text which is gonna say item.role. So by default it should be user itself. Okay. So as of now it's not being shown because we do not have that information. You can try to skip this part, basically not required as of now, because even in the screenshot it is kind of empty. Save. Let's give the design to the outermost view, that is the row fashion design, and it has a definite color, that is PG white. mx of 4, and then I'm going to say my of 3, and I'm going to pass in rounded to excel. I'm going to say shadow of LG. Apart from that, I'm going to give it a border, and then border gray of 300. So border gray of 100, not 300, and then flex of row, and then items of center. So flex row, item center, save. Let's try to reload the app once. Users, there you go, that's looking good. So some padding is missing. Let's provide padding of 4, save. Alright, so that's a complete design for the users tab. Let's move on to the next one, that is the orders tab. So for that we need to head back to your orders screen, or the screen name whatever we've given, that is going to be, let's actually verify that in the component is orders stack. Okay, so I think this is the one. So we can directly try to design this itself. So here I'm going to have in the type of your order item, I'm going to say order item is going to be equals to id is going to be of type string, your total amount is going to be of type number. Next, the status for the order, whether it's paid or pending, I mean not that, whether it's pending, delivered or cancelled, something like that. So string. Next, your created at value, so created at is going to be string. Next is going to be the user object containing the name of string as well as email of string. Okay, so that's it. So let's try to get in the navigation over here. I'm going to say const navigation is going to be equals to use navigation, import that from React navigation as such. And here let's try to have in the data being computed. So data of orders, getting that value as well as is loading, is going to be equals to your use query. Import that from tan stack query of type your order item. Here let's pass in your query key, that is going to be your orders, just like this, and pass in your query function, that is going to be fetch orders. Okay, so over here let's start designing this. So within this we're going to have a view. So now we are essentially designing this part, that is this screen. Here we're going to have in a text which says orders, so let's try to add that. It's like this, and below this I'm going to have in one more piece of text which is going to say if all is loading is true, then question mark, it is going to be equals to loading orders dot dot dot, else I'm going to say showing orders dot length. So dollar orders dot length, here I'm going to say orders. Save. Okay, so for some reason it's still kind of loading, so let's fix that up. Okay, yeah, we were able to see something like undefined. Let's look into that. So first of all, let's try to give the design for this. And I think the header is missing over here, because over here we do need the header. Let's fix that up. So let's come back to root navigator. Yeah, so we do have the options which says title as orders. Let's remove that once. Okay, as you can see, showing undefined orders. Okay, we need to look into that. So come back to orders stack over here. Category stack. Okay, my bad. So yeah, we do need order screen. So I'm directly writing that. Let's fix that up right now. Order screen.tsx rnfes to get the Sujan code snippet, and within your order stack, let's try to add in this over here. First of all, let's try to copy down this code. So copy down this code initially and then come back to order screen. Let's try to add it over here. And the remaining part as well, that is these two values. You can remove all of this for now. Let's add it over here. So let's try to import use navigation as well as your use query and your order item. That is this one, type of order item. Okay, import fetch orders as well. That's it. Save the file. Here now let's try to copy down the code from category stack, all of this. So let's make the change over here according to the screens we have over here. Okay, so we need two screens. Remove the other two. It's like this. So the first one is going to be orders. That is going to be the name. So I'm going to say orders. Component to show is going to be equals to your orders screen. Alright, title is going to say orders. And the second one, first of all, let's try to initialize the stack. It's going to be equals to create native stack navigator. That is this one. Okay. The second one is going to be equals to your order details. So here I'm going to say order details. Component is going to be equals to order details. Okay, that's not yet present. Let's create order details screen. I'm going to say order details screen.tsx rnfes to get the Sujan code snippet. Save the file. Here I'm going to say order details screen and save. Okay, so over here, yeah, this is going to remain as is. So let's come back to the order details screen. Not this one, your root navigator. I think I made a change over here. They should be false. Save. Okay, as you can see, that's looking good. Let's come back to the order screen.tsx and then let's try to exactly see why this is not working, because for some reason we're actually getting undefined orders. That's wrong. So let's style this out first. So flex of 1 and then a bg slate of 50. And over here, the view is going to have a bg gradient design. So I'm going to say bg gradient to right. I'm going to say from sky 600 to indigo 600. Some internal spacing padding of 5. And for the text which says orders, I'm going to say class name. So text is going to say 2XL. Font is going to be of bold. And text is going to be of center. Save. Okay, so for some reason it says still loading. Let's see if there is an issue in the backend part. Yeah, so there is some issue in the backend part. So prisma.order.find many invocation yeah, some issue with the controllers. Let's look into that. Orders.js. Let's fix this up. Alright guys, so I've just finally fixed the issue. So it was kind of tough to actually figure out where exactly the issue was, because I tried doing different things. It didn't work initially. And then I figured out that for each order, that is, it contained a unique, user ID. And that particular user ID was not matching the user IDs from the user table. So I thought some issue while creating the order, or some issue while creating the users, because I've deleted the users while implementing or creating this video as well. So that's the reason I just deleted the entire orders collection. So basically I deleted that complete orders collection. So if I would show you my MongoDB, so I just came back to my orders. So as you can see, orders is not there. Now it's created. So I just went to the orders collection, deleted it, and then freshly logged in through the user app and then created 2 new orders. As you can see, 2 orders are present, and now we are able to see those 2 orders over here. Okay, so let's get started. So if at all you encounter any issues like that, the best thing is delete all of the collections, and you can restart or recreate the orders. That is what I've done over here. So we can get started with the design of this. So again, similarly, below the view, we're going to check the condition stating that if at all is loading is true, then in this case I'm gonna have in a view, which in turn is gonna say loading orders. It's gonna have a text which says loading orders ... And here again check the similar condition stating that if at all your orders dot length, okay, is greater than 0 question mark. Here in this case we're going to show a flat list, else we're going to say no orders yet, and orders will show up once when the customer places them. So I'm going to have in a view. So this view in turn, so first of all let's write down the flat list code. Import flat list from React Native, and over here within this we're going to have one more view, which in turn is going to have a text with a symbol. I'm just going to get that. So this is going to have a class name of text for Excel, and below the view I'm going to have in a text which says no orders yet. Below this piece of text I'm going to have orders will show up here when customers place them. Okay, so let me quickly write down the styles for each of them. So class name for this, it's going to have a flex of 1, and all of this design is going to come towards the centermost part. So I'm going to say justify center, items of center as well, and I'm going to say px of 8, add in that. And for this specific view, this in turn is going to have in a view, not view, width of 40 and then height of 40. Rounded is going to be XL and then a BG white. Okay, then furthermore border and border gray of 100. Your shadow is going to be SM. So shadow SM, justify is going to be center, and then items of center. Okay, so for these two texts, let's write down the class name. I'm going to say text of LG, and I'm going to say text gray of let's say 600. Empty is going to be 6, and text is going to say center. Here I'm going to have an class name, text of SM, then text gray of 400, empty of 1, and then text of center. All right, so let's write down the data as well as implementation for the flat list. Data here is going to be equals to orders. That's going to come from the state render item. I'm going to say render order. We're going to define that component, again having your key extractor. Now this in turn is going to take in the item, and I'm going to say item.id. Okay, furthermore I'm going to say content container style. I'm going to say padding vertical of 12 and padding bottom of 36. Okay, so yeah, so apart from that, we're going to have show vertical scroll indicator. I'm going to set it to be false. let's go on to the top and then define the render order functionality. Okay, so here I'm going to say const render order. This in turn is going to take in the item, and your item is going to be of your order item that's defined above, just like this. And here we're going to have a touchable opacity, import that from React Native. Okay, so some issue with the brackets, I guess, or with the implementation of this. Let's look into that where we've gone wrong. But you can take a look at it. Let's try to save the file. Okay, so now within your render order functionality, we're going to have a outermost view. Let's add in that. Within that, we're going to have one more inner view. Within that, another text, which is going to say, order hashtag your item.id dot slice of 0,8. Let's try to save, and there you go. Just like that, we are going to have these two orders. It's correctly being shown, which is good. So pass on the style for each of the text. So class name over here, text of base, font of semi bold, text gray of 800. Okay, below this I'm going to have an one more piece of text. I'm going to check item.user dot name if it's present. Then I'm going to say item.user dot email. Okay, I mean if name is present, show the name, else show the email. That's what it represents. Else, even if that is also not present, I'm just going to say unknown customer. Save. There you go. We do have the email and it is correctly being shown. So the order is placed with this particular email. So for the view, I'm going to give it a flex of 1 and some padding right. So flex 1 PR of, and for the outermost view, this also is going to have a flex of row. Then justify of between items is going to be start. Save. So now apart from this view, we're going to have a text. We're going to have one more view that's going to come over here, which is going to show the status basically. So I'm going to have in a view, and here the text, which is going to say item.status. Save. There you go. That's looking good. First of all, let's give the style for the outermost touchable opacity, that is with a BG of white and some margin and padding as well. So MX of 3 and your padding of 4, some internal spacing. Round width is going to be 2XL. Add a border. I'm going to say border gray of 100, and shadow is going to be SM. Save. Format once. Let's reload because for some reason I'm not able to see the changes. Come back to orders. There you go. Just like that, paid and then pending. It's looking good. So over here, let's try to give MY also some spacing towards the vertical side. Okay, that's looking fine. So for this part, we're going to have the status style being shown. So initially before this, I'm going to have a class name for this, items end. This view in turn is going to have a class name. Make use of backticks. I'm going to say px of 3 and then py of 1. Your run node is going to be full. I'm going to say border. Then dollar, I'm going to say status style of your item.status. So I'm just going to get the style for the status style over here. So just how we designed it in the user part of the application, if you would remember, similarly we're going to add it over here. So I'm going to say const status style is going to be equals to a normal arrow function. This in turn is going to take in the status of type string. It's going to check the status if at all it is delivered, shipped, processing or cancelled. Depending upon that, it's going to return the style over here. So you can take a look at it, whatever styles I've used. Okay, wrong spelling, styles. Save. There you go. Paid and then pending. That's being shown correctly, fine. So class name over here, text is going to be XS, that is extra small, and then font is going to be medium. All right, that's looking pretty neat. So now two more steps, total as well as your view details. That's going to come right below this one, or this view basically. So having a view, this view in turn is going to have one more text, which is going to say total. Below that, we're going to have in one more piece of text, which is going to say currency, we need to define this method of your item dot total amount. Let's first of all give the style, and then I'm gonna replace it with the method onto the top. So class name, again flex of row because it needs to come into a row fashion, justify of between, item center empty of 3, and for the text which says total, class name, I'm going to say text of SM, then text gray of 600. For this part I'm going to say class name. Okay, so for some reason the app quit or it got crashed, so furthermore font semi bold, and then text gray of 800. Let's again try to open it up, export go. So you can try to add in the currency value over here right above the component. So we're going to say const currency is going to be equals to, take in a value that's going to be of number. I'm going to make use of intl.number format. It's going to be this format, that is English India. Style is going to be currency. Currency is going to be of type INR, and maximum digits is going to be equals to, maximum fraction digits is going to be equals to 0, and dot format of that particular value. So let's try to run the app. Save this file first of all, and orders, and there you go. Okay, so some issue with respect to the total price. Okay, it's being shown, my bad, I'm looking over here. Okay, sorry, so it's being shown over here, which is good. So next part is for the view details, that is going to come right below this. I'm just going to add it over here and then save. Just like that, this is looking good. So let's try to set up the navigation over here. So I'm going to say const navigation is already there. So once you press on this, navigation navigate to order details, and then pass in the order ID over here. Okay, so here essentially I'm going to say on press, take in a function, I'm going to say navigation dot navigate to the name of the screen, that is going to be equals to your order details. So order details as never, pass in the information that is going to be order ID, that is going to be equals to your item dot ID. Okay, let's format once, and then let's try to save the file, and there you go. Just like that, we're coming correctly to the order details screen. Let's fix that title up. So for your order stack, this is going to say order details. Save. As you can see, that is correctly showing fine. So essentially your order details is going to look like this. We have already seen that. So let's get started with designing of this particular screen, that is order details screen. And after this, only one part is remaining, that is the Google login. That's going to be the last step. So let's come back to order details screen over here. And first of all, let's try to initialize the required things for designing this. So I'm going to say const route is going to be equals to use route, import use route from React navigation as such. I'm going to say const order ID is going to be equals to root dot params as order ID, because this is the value that we passed from the previous screen to the screen. Okay, I'm going to initialize my query client. So I'm going to say const query client is going to be equals to use query client, import that from tan stack query. Let's try to initialize the data for a particular order. So if you remember, we do have a method known as fetch order by ID, so we're going to use that over here. So I'm going to say data order, and then is loading is going to be equals to use query, import that from tan stack query. Okay, and I'm going to pass in the query key, that is going to contain your order as well as your order ID. And we also need to pass in the query function for this. This is going to be simple, taking a function and then call the fetch order by ID from the admin. Not admin. This is going to come from your API client. Okay, I think I've messed this up. Let's look where exactly that function is, because we have two API clients if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so fetch order by ID from your backend, because we also have it over here as well, right? So yeah, I think my bad, I should have written that within this itself. Okay, so anyhow, so let's come back over here, not this one, your order details screen. So fetch order from your admin backend itself, and this in turn is going to take in the order ID as a parameter. Save. Okay, so hopefully no issues, that's good. So here let's try to initialize the mutation. So this is basically for the status part, that is update status. We're going to do that later. We can skip this for now. And here if at all it's loading, I'm gonna check the condition stating that if at all this loading is true or not of order, then in this case I'm just gonna say return a safe area view with a message being loading ... It's like this. And for your safe area view, pass on the class name. This in turn is going to have an flex of 1, pg slate of 50, justify is going to be center, okay, and then your items of center as well. For this one I'm going to say class name, text is going to be lg, and then text gray of 600, safe. As you can see, loading. Okay, so some issue with this as well. Let's first of all check out the backend part. Okay, so there seems to be no issues. Yeah, so also once you place the order, you can verify your email as well. As you can see, it says email sent, thank you for your order. You can check out the email, and even the order invoice also should be sent. I don't think I've shown this in the demo. You can check it out on yourself. Okay, so this part is done. So let's first of all design some things over here with respect to the order. Let's later see why exactly it's not working. So safe area view, this in turn is going to have a view over here, which in turn is going to have 2 pieces of text showing the order ID. So I'm going to say order hashtag your order ID dot slice, let's say from 0,8. Here I'm going to have another text which is going to say new date of order created at .to local string. So you can take a look at it. Let's try to save the file. Let's reload once. Let's see why exactly it's not working. Orders ID, let's comment this out. Okay, created at doesn't exist. All right. Okay, so some issue with respect to this one. It's not actually getting the correct result. So that's the reason we are able to see only loading over here. Alright guys, so finally fixed the issue. So it was a typo error again. So if you check out your controllers, that is orders.js, over here we have just written the order functionality, that is to get that particular order detail, but we are not doing result.json of the order. So that was a mistake. So let's try to fix that up. So result.json of order, save the file. Now this should work. That was the issue, and boom, just like that we're able to see the detail over here. Okay, so let's continue designing this. Let's come back to the order details screen. Okay, so within the safe area view, below the date, we're gonna have one more view being shown. Within this, we're gonna have another view. So below this, we're gonna have one more text, which is gonna say total, and below this text we're gonna have the order.total amount. I'm gonna have in a text which is gonna say rupees order dot your total amount. Save. As you can see, it's being shown correctly fine. Save the file. So for this one, outermost view, class name, this in turn is going to have flex of 1, some internal spacing padding of 4. I'm going to say class name again, bg white. Okay, then we're going to have rounded of xl, some internal spacing padding of 4, shadow of sm. It's going to have a border and border gray of 100. Okay, MB of 4 as well. Save the file. Okay, let's try to reload over here. Okay, so we're able to see that design, and for the total over here we need to pass on text of sm. So I'm going to say class name, this in turn is going to say text of sm, and then text gray of 500. For this one, class name, text of LG, font of semi bold, text gray of 800, and then empty of 1. format once. Let's try to save. For some reason we're not able to see anything onto the screen, not sure why. Let's add it over here. Okay, so some issue with respect to the design, I guess. Let's remove the flex for now. Okay, so we're gonna give it flex once when we finish completing the overall design. So yeah, below the text we're gonna have in one more piece of view, add in that, and here we're gonna have in a text which in turn is gonna say status. Below that I'm gonna have in one more piece of text which is gonna say order.status. Save. As you can see, status is paid, it's correctly showing fine. So for the view I'm gonna say again class name. This in turn is gonna have in flex of row, justify of between, items of center, empty of 3. Class name I'm gonna say text of SM, and then text gray of 500. For the second one I'm going to say class name text SM, font of medium, and then text gray of 700. Let's try to save the file. There you go, that's looking good. So let's design the next part where we're going to show the username as well as the address over here. So just copy this view one more time. Here it's going to say user, and below the text we're going to have your order.user.name or order.user.email. Save. There you go, that's looking good. So the final design over here in this part is going to be your address showing design. So copy that view one more time, and within this I'm going to say address. Alright, below this I'm going to first of all check if at all the type of address. So I'm going to say type of order.address, that's how we access it, is equals to, let's say, string question mark, then show the order.address, else it's going to be equals to your json.stringify of your order.address. Save. There you go, that's looking good. We just need to style this out a bit. So for the view we're going to give it empty of 3. Okay, I don't think flex is there even for the second view, so this also is going to have just empty of 3. Okay, this also just empty of 3. And for the first text, let's say text of SM and then text gray of 500. Second text is also going to remain same. No, I think it's different. Text of SM, font of medium, that's not there, you can remove that. We're just going to say text gray of 800 and then empty of 1. Save. Okay, so that's looking good. So below that, if at all any items are there, we're going to show that. So for that I'm just going to add in the flat list right below the view over here. Alright, just like this. Make sure to import flat list from React Native, and then onto the top let's define the render item method. It's going to be simple itself. So I'm going to say const render item. So this in turn is going to have in your item over here. Let's try to define the item. So here we're going to have in your product ID, that is going to be of string. Furthermore, your quantity of string as well. I mean, my bad, quantity is going to be number. Apart from this, your price as well as the name. So price is going to be string, sorry, again number, my bad. So price number, and finally name, that is going to be of string. Alright, here I'm just going to show a view. Within that we're going to have a text which is going to show the name, item.name, or I'm going to make use of backticks. I'm going to say product dollar your item.product ID, and you can pass in the quantity over here. I'm going to say qty. This is going to be equals to your item.quantity multiplied, or you can use the dot symbol, option 8 in Mac, and then item dot price. Save. There you go. That's looking good. Okay. So this part is done. So we can, first of all, style this out for the view. Class name. This in turn is going to have in, BG gray of 100, some internal spacing, padding of 3, my of 1, and rounded is going to be XL. Okay. For this, let's pass on the class name. I'm going to say text of SM, text gray of 800. Let's try to save. And there you go. Just like that, is looking good. This part is complete. Let's scroll on over here. The next part is to show all of the statuses, that is onto the bottommost part containing your pending, shipped, delivered, and then cancelled. I'm just going to get the design for that. That's going to come right below your flat list. Import touchable opacity from React Native. So here I've just taken array of strings, 4 strings, pending, shipped, delivered, cancelled. Applied the map over here with JavaScript, and within the text method, just show the status. Okay, let's try to save. As you can see, that's looking good. Currently, I've not given the on press. You can try to implement that functionality which we had, that is, update order status, which we have written. So this would be updated, and it can also implement a feature wherein if at all you update over here in the admin panel, even the order should get the update onto the user app. That is, let's say it is currently in pending. You can mark it as shipped or cancelled or even delivered as well. You can try to implement that feature too. So this part is done. I think some issue with respect to the design for the order as well as the timings. Yeah, I think for this one, you can just give in some class name, a BG of white, and some internal spacing, padding of 4, border is going to be B, and border gray of 100. So save. Okay, that's it. So yeah, this part is done. We are able to, get all of the details over here for each of the order items. Okay, so your admin panel is completely done. So you can start writing the code for the login part. I think even this is pending, and even the Google sign-in also is pending. These two are remaining in the user part of the application. Let's quickly write the implementation for the login screen over here. So first of all, let's try to get the set auth from your use auth store. We have already set that. Here I'm going to say const set auth is going to be equals to use auth store. Import that. And I think control is already initialized. Yeah, it's there. Let's try to have in the on submit. I'm going to say const on submit is going to be equals to async data of your form data is going to be equals to, let's have in your try catch block. So try and then catch of error. Here I'm going to say console.error login error with that particular error message. Alert.alert, I'm going to say error, and here I'm going to say invalid credentials. Alright, that's it for the catch block. Within the try block, let's try to access the user and token. This is going to be coming from your login method. I'm going to say await. Access login from your API client has already been defined of the data. Okay, and I'm going to say set auth to be of your user comma token. So automatically we should be logged in because the token is set, also the user is also set. Save the file. So currently we cannot test this because obviously the Expo app is running on the simulator. We need to again rerun the application. So I'm just writing the code for this because it's pretty simple. So handle submit of on submit, that's the part missing for the continue button. So come back to the touchable opacity, and here I'm just going to say on press because all the React hook form details is already been hooked up over here, as you can see with the controller. So I'm just going to say on press. We can directly call the handle submit of your on submit, just like this. Okay, this part is done. Let's try to define the function for handle Google sign in. Previously we have written the function, but it's not defined over here. So onto the top, I'm gonna write the functionality for handle Google sign in. Here we're gonna make use of the React Native Google sign in / Google sign in package. So let's say new terminal over here, and onto the main project, that is Meet app in my case, I'm gonna say yarn add. This is the package. Note this down: React Native Google sign in / Google sign in. You can even check this out on the docs as well. That is how exactly we need to implement this. So let's press on enter. Okay, so let's write down the function actually, that is handle Google sign in. Let's say onto the top below this. So const handle Google sign in is going to be equals to async function. Let's do a pod install over here. cd ios pod install, enter. Okay, so as you can see, it installed all of the required dependencies, that is like appauth, app check core, and all of these dependencies related to Google. Okay, so that's good. So here within this, I'm gonna have in my try catch block for the handle Google sign in. So try, then catch of error any. So here we're gonna have a bunch of different kinds of errors that is going to be shown to the user based on the status code. So I'm gonna add in all of them just like this. Okay, so over here you can import your status codes from your dependency, that is your React Native Google sign in / Google sign in. I'm gonna go on to the top and then import it just like this. Okay, so within the catch block, just check each status, that is if at all the status code dot sign in cancelled, we're gonna alert with that particular message. If at all status code dot is in progress, we're gonna have in this message, and if at all error code is gonna be equals to status code dot play services not available, then we're gonna say Google Play services is not available. Okay, that's it for the catch block. Within the try block over here, we're gonna first of all check for play services is enabled or not. For the Android part, I'm gonna say await Google sign in dot has play services. As you can see, we have that method. Here we're gonna say show play services update dialog is gonna be true. Next, I'm going to say attempt the sign in const user info is going to be equals to await. I'm going to say Google sign in dot sign in just like this, and here check the condition stating that if at all the user info dot data and your user info dot data dot id token is present, then in that case we're gonna call the await Google login. So I'm going to say const user comma your token is going to be equals to await Google login. So this is going to come from the API client. I don't think I've written that. Let me just verify that once. Okay, so yeah, Google client is not there. I mean, not Google client, your Google login method is not there. We need to add that over here. So we can directly say export const Google login is going to be equals to async. This in turn is going to take in the ID token, and we're going to post to this one. So I think I've written the endpoint for this one, auth Google login. Let's verify that over here. So auth sign up is there. So sign up is there as well as login is there. Okay, we have forgotten to write the endpoint for Google login. So let's write that. So let's say right below your login over here, I'm going to say async function Google login is going to be having a request and the response over here, getting the ID token from the front end part. So const ID token. Okay, there is no error over here. Is going to be equals to your request dot body. Okay, let's try to have in the try catch block. So try catch of error. I'm just going to say logger.error of error and then throw that particular error. So within the try block, I'm going to say const ticket is going to be equals to await your client dot your verify ID token. So your client is going to come from your OAuth 2 client. I don't think that's imported. So let's try to have in that. So const client is going to be equals to new OAuth 2 client. This is going to have in your process dot env dot Google client ID. So this ID you need to get from the Google console. Okay. So here we're going to say client dot your verify ID token. So verify ID token of your ID token that is coming from the front end, that is requested body, and pass in the audience over here. That's going to be equals to your process dot env dot your Google client ID. Let's try to access the payload over here. So const payload is going to be equals to your ticket dot, we have the get payload method. All right, then over here I'm going to say const sub, that is going to have in your Google ID. Apart from that, your email and the name is going to be equals to your request dot body. I mean, my bad, it's going to be equals to payload. Okay, and here I'm going to say let user is going to be equals to await Prisma dot user dot, we have the find first, use that here where it should match the Google ID. Okay, here I'm going to say if not of user, then in this case I'm going to say user is going to be equals to await Prisma dot find unique here where with respect to the email. Okay, so here I'm going to check if at all we do have the user, then we need to update that particular user with the Google ID. Okay, so for that reason I'm going to say if user is going to be equals to await, I'm going to say Prisma dot user dot, we have the update method, use that. And I'm going to say where is going to be equals to your email and your data is going to be equals to your Google ID. That's it. Else I'm just going to say user is going to be equals to await created Prisma dot user dot create method, pass in the data to be created. Data is going to be equals to your email, your Google ID, that's going to come from your payload, and your name as well. Okay, that's it. Here we can try to generate the token, sign it over, and then we can send the result to the front end part. Let's add it right below the if condition. So I'm going to say const token is going to be equals to your jwt.sign and pass in two things, user ID as well as the, I mean just one thing, user ID, and pass in the secret over here. So let's try to save the file. Okay, so some issue with respect to this one. I think OAuth client is not defined. Okay, my bad. I think we need to install a dependency. Just forgot that. Let's check out the package.json. Yeah, so it's not there. So for the backend part, I'm going to say yarn add Google auth library. Okay, enter. So this should be installed over here. As you can see, that got installed. So let's come back to your auth.js. Here onto the top, let's import the auth client. I'm going to say const OAuth2 client is going to be equals to require of your Google auth library. Hopefully the issue should go. As you can see, that was the issue. I forgot to install this one, Google auth library. So now that's set up, which is fine. So yeah, that's pretty much it about your complete Google sign-in or Google login functionality. We are signing the token and then we are creating the JWT and we are sending it to the front end part. Here also export the Google login as well. Save. Come back to the API client. Okay, not this one. Within your front end part. Yeah, so this should be equals to your auth Google login and it should be equals to .data. Okay, that's it. Let's try to save the file. Yeah, this is saved. I think we need to save the login screen. Yeah, import it from your API client. And over here, this is going to take in your user info.data.id token. Okay, so I'm going to say user info dot your data dot your ID token. And I'm just going to say set auth so that the user can be logged in of the user and the token. Okay, else we can throw whatever error it's giving. I'm going to say throw new error. I'm going to say no ID token received. Save the file. Yeah, so this part is done. So we have set up Google a login to the application. So this wouldn't work as of now because we need to make some changes within the info.plist for the iOS part as well, and we also need to configure the Google sign-in over here. So I'm going to say Google sign-in dot configure. This in turn is going to take in your three things: web client ID. If you're using Android, add in the Android client ID as well as the scopes. I'm going to say web client ID is going to be some value. This is going to be coming from the Google console, whatever you create for your web application. iOS client ID some value. I'm going to say scopes, that is whatever you need to access from the Google email. I'm going to say I need access to the profile as well as the email over here. Okay, so I don't think there is Android client ID. So yeah, just you can add in these three values. Okay, so I'll be showing you where exactly to get the web client ID as well as the iOS client ID. Let's try to save the file. So you can try to give this a try. Okay, so I'm not going to show that. So now the next and final step is I'll be showing you what changes to make in the info.plist as well as where to get all of these web client ID as well as the iOS client ID from your Google console project. So now the way we get all of these IDs, that is web client ID as well as iOS client ID, is pretty simple. So for that you need to head over to Google Cloud and then head over to your console and make sure you have your project created. Okay, so in my case what I've done is I've not created a new project. I've just used the IDs from my previous project, that is the travel planner app. But you can create a new project if all you're giving the app to someone else to use. That would be better. So to create a new project, just press on this one. So you can create new project with the help of this button. So I'm going to use this itself for now. So as you can see, I've created three parts, that is Android client ID, iOS client ID as well as the web application or the web client ID. So in this case, I'm not sure if all you're using the Android client ID because I'm using the iOS part. So here to create it, just press on create credentials and you can press on OAuth client ID. Okay, you can choose the application type and you need to do this step for 2 times to get all of these two values, that is web client ID as well as the iOS client ID. So come back over here, choose your application type. So let's say for the first time web application, and apart from that I'm going to leave everything as default if I'm not wrong, and you can press on create. Okay, so I would show you that over here as well. So web client ID, yeah, you can name it as React Native Client, but the type is web application. So as you can see, that's my client ID, this is my client secret, and apart from that I've not added anything over here. So just try to add in the application name, create the ID and then use it. So that's it. Okay, so just try to do that step for 2 times. That is, one is for the web client ID, you can give any name you want to give. I've given React Native Client. And the second time you do it, just say create credentials and then again OAuth client ID. Just make sure to choose the application type as iOS for the second time. So you would get both of those two values. So come back over here and then paste it over here, all right, in these two places, and this part is done. And you need to make the changes within your info.plist and it should pretty much work. Okay, that's the final step. So come back to iOS, your Meet app and then info.plist. Okay, so let's say right below your false tag or this particular controller definition, I'm going to add in all of the required things required for your Google based login. So add it over here. So here we need to include the CF bundle type role, that is editor, as well as the bundle URL schemes. So this should be equals to your web client ID. Okay, so add in all of this as is, that is com.googleUserContent.apps, and this one is going to be your web client ID, that is you're going to get it from your console. Okay, so just copy this. As you can see, that's my web client ID. Okay, not web, my bad. So this should be your iOS client ID. Okay, that is this the one. You can just copy it directly from console and then add it after the apps. All right, so here next one is going to be your GID client ID. So again, this also is going to be equals to your iOS client ID. Make sure to add the iOS client ID first, and after that you're going to say .apps.googleUserContent.com. okay, once you do this, save the info.plist, come back over here and do a pod install, enter. Okay, so no issues should essentially come, and there you go. So hopefully, yeah, it should not come, it's complete. All right, so we have set up the info.plist for your Google login. So now you can try to run the app and then you can try both the features, login as well as Google login. I'm not going to show that. If you find any issues, you can write it down in the comment. I'll be able to help you out, or you can directly message me as well. All of my social links are in the YouTube description or the YouTube about section. You can take a look at it. So yes, that's it about this project. So we built a lot in part 2 as well, that is payment integration, then your definition for different controllers as well, that was pending from part 1, and we also were able to implement the Google based login as well as your login with email as well. Okay, so hope you learned something in this project. If you learned something and if you like the video, please do the like button and do subscribe for more such content. So let's see you in the next project, and then thank you for watching.